Everyone, welcome to football's Night of Nights. In just over 30 minutes, voting will commence to determine just who will be the 2005 Brownlow medalist. But before all that, Sam, James and myself will be joined by Bridget McIntyre and Shane Crawford as we present to you the Brownlow Red Carpet Special. And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Crown Entertainment Complex. It is the Night of Nights here for football, the Brownlow medal, 2005 version. Before we get the voting underway, though, a lot of glitz and glamour out on the red carpet, and that's why we're here, Sam and Jim. Any given Sunday, just gone a little upmarket here, boys.
And we should explain, this is going around the planet. This telecast. We should explain, this is Jimmer.
It is.
This is Jim's indicative mirth advisor. Jim was a bit obscure and lateral early on in the show when it started back in April or whenever it did, and no one got his humour. A bit obscure, a bit lateral. In fact, not funny. Not funny. And so we just do this whenever Jim says something humorous, and we've got a tux on the lad. He would not. We would not have done this unless he'd been with us.
No, we would not. He's come up beautifully. I tell you, what is there? Some excitement building out there. We've got all of the favourites arrived. Scotty West has made his way in. Robert Harvey, of course, has won on two separate occasions, but it's all about the glamour, Jim, and that's why you are here as well.
Just feeling $1 million. We all are, Gary. Very, very excited. Jonathan Brown just pulled up in a ute.
Yeah, in the Toyota ute.
Toyota ute. So, we're very excited to be here.
They've done a mandatory cocaine sweep of the men's toilets. The Herald Sun love to do that, just as if footballers might be associated with drugs or something. And a friend of mine, they were advertising for it. A friend of mine applied just because he was after work, and they said, can you go to Darwin? They said, is that where the Brownlow is? He said, that's where the queue ends. So,
give Jim a run there.
Yeah, give him just crank him up if you wouldn't mind. Now, listen, we've got all of the big-name players, the superstars and their partners. It's a big night for the ladies as well. And, of course, the Red Carpet Special is all about being a bit voyeuristic. Am I able to say that? Look at this. Is the man from Kyabram there, the great man, Brett Delidio, and that's his mum, Judy. There's Trent Crode and his gorgeous girlfriend, Tanya. Well, I get some comment from you later,
a bit of leopard skin work there, Gary.
Beautiful work. Here he is, the man that could very well take home the Brownlow medal.
He's taken to the black tie, Scotty.
Lachelle, his wife, is there, and there's Jono on the ute.
Oh, have a look at that.
The Toyota Hilux ute. We're not interested in the ute, John.
I don't think that's Jono.
No, that is Kylie Adams, Jono's gorgeous girl. But back in your day, I mean, the Brownlow medal, was it such a prestigious...
Yes, prestigious, Gary. It was just very exciting. And, of course, the men that give out the awards, the umpires, I mean, just very highly thought of. And the thing is, has fashion now... You've had the bottom floss, whatever you call those G-strings. They've gone out. You know, the VPL is all that's about these days. And you watch for the women to go by with the VPL. Of course, you know what that is, the visible panty line. And
we've got that is what... In the opening segment, we've got them all out.
This is about fashion, Gary. It's no good trying to dress it up for something that's not. This is to see who's wearing what and how revealing and daring they can be.
Not necessarily revealing. We like to see some classy acts out there, and there are plenty.
No, we don't, Gary.
What about Croft? He's turned up to do the red carpet for us today, and he's going to do it beautifully because he's wonderful, but he actually fronted up in a safari suit.
He did, and we whipped him into the back there. We went down to the Crown Room, bought him a suit, and he's out on the red carpet with Bridget McIntyre, and they are door-stopping everyone who wanders in, and throughout the course of our show, we'll talk to plenty of the superstars. Let's have a look at them now.
Well, I'm here with one of the favourites tonight, Luke Hodge and girlfriend Lauren. Guys, looking smashing this evening.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Lauren, tell me about the dress. Who are you wearing?
Blessed by the Meek. And I've got the jewellery by Cavalier Princess tonight.
Gorgeous. Now, Luke, how's the heart? You feeling a bit nervous?
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I'm just here to have a good night. So I'd say Westy and Ben Cousin, I'm a bit more nervous, but yeah, so it should be a good night.
Jonathan Brown just got out of the Hilux with your beautiful girlfriend, Kylie.
Yeah, that's right, mate. We turned up for the Toyota Hilux. Looking forward to a big night, mate.
Kylie, how will it go tonight?
Hopefully well.
Yeah, we are looking forward to tonight, with Westy being one of the favourites, so it adds a bit of excitement on our table.
And Donna, have a look at you. You look so radiant. How many months pregnant are you?
6 months.
And feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good. So it's going quick.
Gone very traditional? Looking great.
I have, mate. Yeah, going very traditional and yeah, looking a lot like you actually. So nah, it's, if I'm doing half as well as you, I'm going all right, mate.
And Catherine, did you help her out with her outfit tonight?
No, got no idea at all. But no, she's looking lovely, isn't she? So she's done very well.
Thanks. Have a great night. Very cool. Thanks.
Well, there they are.
Simon Black, a man Sam predicted to win this year's Brownlow. Gary didn't realise he wasn't playing till round 8.
He's gone out. Now listen.
How many votes do you need to win the thing? He could have. I'll tell you what, SpongeBob Bradshaw's new to this neck of the woods.
He
and
is.
we had to start this telecast late. This is true.
Yep.
SpongeBob was stopped at 7 checkpoints. They said, you can't go in there, mate. He said, I'm on television. He said, yeah, right, get over there. So, SpongeBob, we've bought... Hello, where it is.
There it is.
There it is. This is a pass, mate. You just wear that, and I'll give you a little thing to put... And
You get
clip
yourself
that on
sorted
there.
out. Put that round your neck because we'd hate
That
to lose
gets
you.
you through anywhere.
We are going to take a break. Rebecca Twigley, the sensation of last year's Brownlow medal, not here this year because the Eagles are into the grand final, but she will join us next on the red carpet Brownlow special.
I reckon it's not about the way you look.
And that's the way to go, to go. Fake it, baby, they won't even know. You can't make it, 'cause everybody knows that's the way to go. Fake it, baby, they won't even know. You can't make it, 'cause everybody knows that's the way to go.
Now, this is your third time back at Crown in a very short space of time. You're making a habit of this.
I know, it's deja vu. I keep red carpets every time.
You're an expert at the red carpet.
Oh, they still make you a little bit nervous, you know, but
You're not nervous.
I get nervous. I keep expecting people to go, who?
So after you win the Brownlow tonight, you'll be able to sip the beers there and just enjoy the week.
Well, something like that, mate. You know what that's all about.
What about Lauren? Did you help her out with her dress today?
She's looking nice, though. She's looking
Very
nice.
nice.
I didn't help out, I must admit, I didn't help out.
What can you tell us about the dress?
It's a Purici couture dress. It's actually a replica of the one that Michelle Guy wore for the Miss Universe contest earlier in the year. So it's very, very lucky to be wearing this tonight.
So we're here in support of the Blue Ribbon Foundation. They've got their Blue Ribbon Day on September 29. Yeah, it's not a charity, it's an expression of sympathy for fallen policemen and women over the years, so great cause.
What's the feelings like?
I don't know, hopefully it should be a good night, Shane. Haven't really got any feelings at the moment. Just going to go in there and relax, I guess.
Get a few votes?
Couldn't tell you, mate. I haven't worked with the umpires before, so yeah, don't know.
He's going to get a lot of votes at home bringing his mother.
I reckon.
Brett Deludio, the NAB AFL Rising
What's he
Star.
doing with the shag, Gary? He's gone for the tiger stripes.
Mum duty there, and of course, I just should say the NAB, have they ramped up their involvement in AFL footy? As of next year, the NAB Cup, Auskick, and everything in between, Samuel.
That edict that the AFL issued about black tie has been a winner.
Yeah, no, that's gone
Yeah,
well.
that's,
That's gone off beautifully, but I've got to say, the girls are looking magnificent. We've got a nice little vantage point here as they wander up there, and a lot of bare backs.
I've noticed the leopard skin too as well, Gary seems to too as well. That's beautiful English from me.
You chastised me earlier for actually talking about what the women look like and how little they wear, and now you're onto it immediately.
No, I'm saying they are an integral part of tonight, and unfortunately, one of the big highlights of last year's Brownlow medal count, of course, was Rebecca Twigley, the girlfriend of Chris Judd, the winner, of course. Now, the Eagles, we know, they're involved in the grand final next week, or this week, rather, so the girls couldn't come over, but we've been able to go over to them at the Burswood Entertainment Centre, and I say good evening to Rebecca Twigley and also Samantha Druce, who is the girlfriend of Ben Cousins, the red-hot favourite. Welcome, girls.
Hi.
Now, first of all, Rebecca, let me say, you're disappointed that you aren't able to be here tonight, given you've had such a big impact on us all last year.
Not at all. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but Perth tonight because it means our boys are in the grand final, so I wouldn't give it up for the world.
Now, Rebecca, you just made a huge statement with your dress last year. You were absolutely magnificent. You've gone a different way with it this year, not as revealing as the red number. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we thought we'd go something completely different this year, so we've gone a bit feminine and elegant and a bit more covered up. So we're shying away from the bombshell look, and we're, yeah, a bit more elegant tonight.
Well, you look stunning, both girls. Samantha, Ben, how's he been through the course of this week? He is one of the shortest price favourites we've seen for a long, long time. How's he handled the pressure?
Yeah, no, he's good. He's probably more nervous about the weekend than tonight. He's actually asleep in his room at the moment, so he's really good.
Now, either of you, is it about how long it takes to select what you wear or what you look like? The body or the dress?
The dress, I think.
The dress? And what about the
the
accessories?
dress.
Perfume
Absolutely.
and trinkets and jewellery. It's just the big night, isn't it?
It is, and I've been lucky enough to wear Smales jewellery tonight. I've got the 5-carat rock on my little finger. You can probably see it. And
just borrowed, is it?
Yeah, just borrowed,
I see.
unfortunately. But maybe one day I'll have one.
Well, tell the cheapskate to buy it for you.
I know.
Now,
Couple
Samantha,
years away
a little boring for you tonight, of course, because the boys are going to be tucked in bed early. They got the grand final on the weekend. You can't shake it up at the Burswood all night.
Yeah, well, we can. They don't have to stay. And
We've got a
Beck and I are
room.
staying, so we can have fun with
It's going to be a girls' night.
Well, girls,
we're toasting you. We're wishing you well.
And we appreciate you joining us. And good luck tonight, first of all, to you, Samantha, for Ben, and also for both girls on the weekend. Of course, the Eagles up against the Swans.
Great, thanks,
All
guys.
the best.
Rebecca
Oh,
Trigley
good luck.
and Samantha Druce.
Beautiful. Don't you toast them, Gary. Leave it to Sam and I.
Thank you very much.
Watch us toast
Now,
them.
Rebecca, of course, had a big year, and Juddy can't win tonight, unfortunately, because he's been rubbed out. But Benny Cousins is right
Bad
in
look
amongst
there.
it. What's that?
Sorry, I had my shoe sticking out the side of the table. So it's just a bad look if you're into fashion. You can see a bit of bare leg.
And that's what this is all about, the red carpet special. Let's have a look at some of the fashionable items that have wandered in. Now, that is Lindsay Gilby's girlfriend, Jess Hance.
Look
there.
at Jess.
She's beautiful. That's a lovely colour. Daniel G in Siracusa and girlfriend Kelly Tisdale. That's the official Charles Brownlow dress.
Nice pair of wheels he's wearing, Daniel.
Andrew's coming the classic black tie. Andrew Demetriou and Simone.
Look at the main man there, and he's got a serious look about him too, because it's a big night for him. He's got to get the words all right, Gary.
Yes, and Rob Harvey. He's been here twice before and walked home with Charlie twice, and that's Danielle Harvey there looking beautiful.
I have got a little prediction for you, Gary.
Please.
We will not see better than Nick Del Santo's brought to the table tonight.
Is it you're going out on a limb?
I'm going out on a limb and saying that she is the best we've seen so far.
Of course, we're not interested in what the women look like after you held me down for saying it's just about the women and what they wear or not what they're wearing. But no, that's all you've mentioned, the two of you.
I didn't say that at all. I said they are a massive part of this evening, and that's why we're here. We're going to take a break. More from the red carpet of the Brownlow level at the Crown Entertainment Complex.
He's got excited.
Like the way you move.
Because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on and get your kicks. Now you don't need the money when you look like that, do you, honey?
The very glamorous James and Tanya Hurd, you both look stunning.
She does, yeah. Put a lot more time than I have, but yeah, she looks fantastic, doesn't she?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be taking home Charlie tonight, though, mate. But yeah, looking forward to a good night, actually. Should be good.
And your beautiful friend, partner, wife?
My lovely friend, Rebecca, has decided to accompany me tonight, which is very nice of her.
And your hairstyle tonight, mate? Who did you go to get that done?
The shower, and however it came out of in the shower is, it's...
Amy, tell me about the dress.
My dress has been designed by Mira Mandich. She's a Paris-based designer. I got it from Sydney, and my diamonds have been lent to me by Kosminski's for tonight, which is very generous of them.
And Mark, did you have any input into this dress?
None at all. I know that Amy's got really good taste, so I just let her do her own thing, and I did mine.
Yes, and a very smart move indeed, Mark Johnson there. Welcome back to the Crown
Jeez.
Entertainment Complex. It is the red carpet special prior to the Brownlow votes being counted.
Tell you what, Gary, there's
Glamour.
a few boys working out of their league. I said Nick Del Santo was well ahead of himself. Brody Holland's beautiful fiancée, Sarita. We just saw Mr. Sunbury, Mark Johnson.
Cameron Ling looking as though he'd just been in an automobile accident.
He looked a bit like Jimmer in a suit, Cameron Ling. Bridget McIntyre has been down on the red carpet with Shane Crawford. She's cast a very discerning eye over proceedings down there. Bridge, what have you made of it all? It's been very exciting.
It certainly has, Gary. Well, there's been a big build-up to tonight, a lot of talk about what the girls will be wearing, and I have to say they have done an absolutely magnificent job. If tonight's count is as exciting as some of the dresses we've seen, then we are in for a fantastic evening. Now, if I had to pick favourites, I've had a look at most of the dresses that have come through. Luke Ball's girlfriend, Amy Pollard, really stood out in that beautiful backless red number, looking absolutely fabulous.
Yes, so that's number 3. What else? Who else has made the top 3?
Simone Demetriou, have a look at her.
Oh,
she
yeah.
looked
Very nice.
absolutely stunning in that pastel dress with that beautiful Bulgari necklace. And hello, Marinda Jackson, Matthew Richardson's girlfriend.
Gee.
Can she pull off a mini? Not many can, but she certainly can. So, Gary, it's a girls' night to shine, and that is exactly what they've done.
Bridge, may we just take this opportunity to say that you yourself look absolutely magnificent.
Indeed.
You're just glowing in that beautiful dress. What about the men? There was a request from the AFL that the black tie be worn, and yet we haven't seen too many, especially with the players.
Well, I don't know how well received that call for the traditional black tie has been. In fact, I think it's fallen on deaf ears because there aren't too many AFL footballers down here wearing the black tie. So it's a little bit of a shame because I do love that classic look, and you three upstairs are a perfect example of that.
Oh,
Well, Bridge, you do. You look gorgeous, as does Shane. We'll catch up with Bridge and Shane just out of the next break. Samuel.
Okay, so we're out of time, Gary, are we? I was going to ask Bridget a question. Do you think the women get aroused by being here in all this finery? Do you get aroused?
No, I don't get aroused, Sam. I think it's all about individuality. It's their moment to shine, and this is why they're here.
It is indeed.
Look at that idiot in the background.
They are
there.
shining. Shane's an idiot. We're going to take a break and wrap up things. The Brownlow medal count are only moments away.
Very nice to have you here. Have you been practicing the names for tonight's count? I've been working on for you. G in Syracuse, Ikabuchi, or Yakabuchi. How do you...
No, I have been practicing, Shane, and every night in the bedroom and every night in the bathroom.
Oh, well done. And what about your beautiful wife, Simone, and that necklace?
Yes, it's a Bulgari. It's beautiful.
It is very beautiful. And did you just get the money out of your ashtray and think, I'll go and buy one of those?
No, Shane, I'm still trying to afford the dress, actually.
It was hard to put together because it was only made in 4 days, but, you know, I think it's come together well, and hopefully it'll, you know, keep me warm during the night.
Hopefully she'll stay in it. That's what Nick's thinking.
Definitely. No comment there.
You going to give us a spin?
Go for it,
Very nice. Haven't you done all right?
Yeah, I'm batting above my average.
You're airborne.
I agree.
What about tonight? Who do you think's going to win? Yourself?
Not a chance. You're a chance.
Yeah, I'm a big chance.
West or Cousins, I think.
No worries. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, the excitement building here at the Crown Entertainment Complex. They are the votes, Samuel, arriving here. Look at them.
Very exciting. Half of them have been steamed open so you can get a bet on, but it's very, very serious, Gary.
Oh, it is. Very earnest men
Very
carrying in the
serious.
votes here.
Couple of county sheriffs out of the Dukes of Hazzard, Gary.
They were. Now, quickly, I want your Brownlow medal tip before we hand over to Edward to get things underway. Who are you liking tonight?
Well, I have no idea, but I'll go for Jason Ackermanis, and I'm going to get a tip from Jimmer. So just a minute. He says Cameron Ling, because he's one of the family. Did you not? He did.
Jim?
Matthew Pavlich.
You
For
like
me,
him,
Gary.
Pavlich?
What about
Super
your good
Pav.
self, Gary?
I'm going the boring but the Conservative favourite, Ben
You
Cousins.
excited?
I'm very excited.
Well,
I'll
get
tell
up,
you who's
'cause
been
it's
sensational.
fantastic.
Bridget
We love
McIntyre
it.
and
Left,
Shane
Gary.
Crawford.
Let's
who
hope
are-
we can do it next year.
They have been out there interviewing everyone coming and going. Bridge, you gave us your top 3. Now we want your number 1 overall.
Well, it's been a difficult decision, Gary, but I think the standout dress tonight has to be Carla Maguire's dress. One of my all-time favourite designers, Scanlon and Theodore. Have a look at her. She's
How
absolutely
diplomatic.
glowing.
No, she does.
No, Sam, I'm not being diplomatic. I really think that was probably the nicest so far tonight.
We should ask you, Bridge, before we hand it over to Shane, where have you got your gorgeous outfit from?
Well, this is a Bacchini and Hill, so a big thank you to Angelina Bacchini for this stunning dress.
Thank you, Angela.
All right, Croft, what about your good self? Just nicely presented in the tux there. Who have you seen of the men, Croft, who have let themselves down?
Well, I thought the standard was extremely high, but I think worst probably Brodie Holland. But in saying so, I think he was the best as well. A lot of courage. I thought he's pulled it off fairly well, and so not only worst, but I think he's also the best.
It looks like Brad Pitt out of Ocean's 11, Croft.
Yes, he does. He does. It's been great down here, so thanks very much for having us. And I suppose we'll throw back to the Three Stooges. So thanks, guys.
You've done a sterling job, Shane and Bridge. Thanks very much for your efforts down there. Just fantastic down on the red carpet. Just building up now. Edwards up in position. He's just about ready to take over.
That was a cheap shot about Carla. Carla looked fantastic. It was a great dress, Jim.
Oh, magnificent.
Your Gary.
Scanlon and Theodore.
Oh, wow. S&T.
Yeah.
Listen to you ripping the name out. It's the first time you've ever heard it, Gary.
That's not true. But look, you're liking Matthew Pavlich. You're liking Jason Ackermanis. For what reason, I'm not exactly sure.
Super Pav.
I'm liking Ben Cousins. Might we see more than one tonight?
Let's hope so. Let's hope we really devalue the whole thing by having about 8 or 9 winners. Well, there's got to be one winner, Gary, but let's not get into that.
No, it isn't. There were 3 last time we did.
You've got a roll, Gary. You're going to be sitting up on stage.
I'll be up there analysing.
Good luck with it.
Just trying to find out where the votes are coming from, who's getting them and who's missing out. It is a massive night here at the Crown Entertainment Complex. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for Bridget and also to Shane, to Jim and Sam. Eddie Maguire next. Brownlow medal.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome your host for the 2005 Brownlow medal, Mr. Eddie Maguire.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Crown Palladium Room for this, the 78th counting of votes and presentation of the Charles Brownlow Medal for the fairest and best in the AFL competition. And what a magnificent night we're in for over in Western Australia. Can the favourite, the West Coast captain Ben Cousins, make it back-to-back Brownlows for the Eagles following Chris Judd last year? And then make it every boy's dream week by becoming the 12th player in the history of the game to win the Brownlow and the Premiership, and maybe become only the second player ever, alongside Collingwood legend Sid Coventry, in becoming a Brownlow medalist, a Premiership player and a Premiership captain, all in the one season. Good luck tonight to the West Coast Eagles and Ben Cousins, everybody. A round of applause for Ben. Go on here, Ben. What about from the other West Australian team, from Fremantle, Matthew Pavlich, with his goal kicking, his high marking and midfield play? Can he become the Dockers' first ever winner? The people's favourite, Western Bulldogs Scott West, who's had 3 top 5 finishes and 4 top 10s in the last 7 years. Can he go one better than runner-up in 2000? Let's go up to Sydney, where all the controversy is, and Barry Hall. What a night it could be for Barry, and what better character evidence could he produce for the tribunal tomorrow night than to walk in with a Brownlow medal around his neck, ladies and gentlemen, as the fairest and best player according to the umpires. And if you believe the leaks, his teammate Brett Kirk will be tying with Ben Cousins on 27 votes when we finish in a couple of hours' time. We'll find out if that mail is correct. For the Saints, well, Nick Del Santo, Luke Ball and Lenny Hayes, can they salvage something for the St Kilda side after a wonderful season? The same for Simon Goodwin from Adelaide, who's had a fantastic season as well. The other big names around the room, Warren Tredrea, Travis Johnson, James Clement, Shannon Grant, Spider Everett, and Luke Hodge have all had magnificent seasons. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for all the men who have given us a season to remember in 2005. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on a night of the stars here in the AFL, who better than to have an international superstar to open tonight's proceedings? Michael Bublé to sing Moondance. Ladies and gentlemen, Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Crown Palladium Room as we get set to commence counting of votes in the 2005 Brownlow medal. Gives me great pleasure now to welcome a couple of my colleagues from Nine's Wide World of Sports. First of all, the man who was the Brownlow favourite back in 1989, former Melbourne and Victorian captain Gary Lyon, and a man who knows all about Grand Final week, a five-time winner with the Hawthorn Football Club of the Premiership, but a man who actually was rubbed out for more weeks than votes that he received in the Brownlow medal during his career. Ladies and gentlemen, Dermot Brereton.
Thanks very much, Edward. Pleasure to be here. Yes, the umpires weren't as kind to me as one would have hoped, but it is an exclusive club to be here, and it's good to see somebody else in the same boat. Jonathan Brown, welcome tonight. First time for a few years.
Good on you,
also.
Brownie. Good to have you at the Brownlow medal. Jonathan Brown, who turned up tonight in the magnificent Toyota Hilux as well. Gary Lyon, what are we doing tonight, mate? Tell us about the form guide.
Yeah, well, Edward, we're going to, throughout the course of this evening, have a look at player vote cards, and this will give you some idea of what sort of season players ahead. Let's use Cameron Bruce as an example. He's going to jump right out of the gates in the first 3 rounds. The yellow squares there are games that we expect the players to poll votes. The red, unfortunately for Brucey, is when he's injured. So get him early, Brucey, because we reckon you're not going to get any after that, son. But that's what will bob up throughout the course of the night.
And let's have a look at the favourites, Gary. Ben Cousins. He is the shortest starting price favourite since Shane Crawford in 1999. He, at 5 p.m. this afternoon, was $2.10. Now, we expect, as our calculations, Ben Cousins to poll votes in 11 of 22 games, injured in round 2. So it doesn't get any votes by our calculations until round 4, but then it comes with a flurry.
OK, then, let's get on with proceedings tonight. To start the official proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the Chief Executive Officer of the AFL, Andrew Demetriou.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's gathering is a properly constituted meeting of the AFL with all commissioners present. In accordance with AFL Rule 19, at the conclusion of each match, the 3 field umpires conferred and recorded their idea of the 3 fairest and best players in each of the 176 home and away matches played this season. The votes were then sealed in an envelope marked Brownlow medal. In the case of 2 or more players receiving an equal number of votes, each shall be declared the joint winner, and each of these players shall be awarded a Brownlow medal. Notwithstanding that a player has been found guilty of a reportable offence in a home and away match in which Brownlow medal votes have been cast, the player shall remain eligible to receive the Brownlow medal if the sanction for the reportable offence is a financial sanction only, or the base demerit points allocated to that reportable offence are less than 100 points. Joining me on my table are the General Manager of Football Operations, Adrian Anderson, and Projects Manager, Dean Moore, and Jill Lindsay, our Ground Operations Manager, and Rod Austin, the Football Administration Manager.
Thanks, Andrew. Good luck to all the AFL officials. Good luck with the count tonight, Andrew Demetriou, as we look at round 1 of the 2005 Toyota AFL season.
The season was only a couple of hours old before one of the biggest news stories of 2005 broke.
Nick Reebold standing there. Scott and Michael went up and crunched that right shoulder.
The aftermath sparked one of the hottest debates of the season. The Saints would lose their newly appointed captain for 6 weeks, Aaron Hamill for 1, and the game by 23 points.
Put it through!
The opening round also rattled the Powers Premiership defence. Added to the loss were several injuries and the report of Peter Burgoyne. At the Telstra Dome, Sav Rocca lifted the Kangaroos to victory over Carlton. Emotions ran high as Melbourne united with Essendon to honour Troy Broadbridge. After trailing at quarter time, the Demons kicked clear to record a stirring victory. It was a baptism of fire for new Hawthorn coach Alistair Clarkson. Sydney 10-goal winners. With all the hype, it was pretty much like the Tiger of old as Terry Wallace walked away from a similar heavy loss to Geelong. Rodney Eaves' return provided a much different story. Compounding Collingwood's early troubles was Buckley's hamstring injury, which would sideline the skipper for 3 months. Pre-season tipsters had West Coast slotted into the top 4, and more would follow after they stormed from behind to defeat the Crows.
Round 1, Brisbane versus St Kilda. Brisbane, C. Johnson, 1 vote. St Kilda, A. Hamill, 2 votes. Brisbane, L. Power, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Carlton. Kangaroos, T. Makepeace, 1 vote. Kangaroos, D. Wells, 2 votes. Kangaroos, S. Rocker, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Port Adelaide. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 1 vote. Fremantle, J. Carr, 2 votes. Fremantle, H. Black, 3 votes. Melbourne versus Essendon. Melbourne, R. Ferguson, 1 vote. Melbourne, C. Bruce, 2 votes. Melbourne, B. Maloney, 3 votes. Sydney versus Hawthorn. Sydney, D. Jolly, 1 vote. Sydney, J. Bolton, 2 votes. Sydney, P. Williams, 3 votes. Adelaide versus West Coast. West Coast, A. Embley, 1 vote. Adelaide, T. Edwards, 2 votes. West Coast, D. Kerr, 3 votes. Richmond versus Geelong. Geelong, P. Chapman, 1 vote. Geelong, J. Kelly, 2 votes. Geelong, C. Ling, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, A. Cooney, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, M. Hahn, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, L. Darcy, 3 votes.
Friday Night Football provided a thriller. Down for the count at the last change, the Blues found a spark and one exciting rookie. Can he kick a goal? Yes, he can! It was a similar story at Monica. The Swans looking the goods before Shannon Grant ignited the Kangaroos. Cameron Bruce had a day out against the Bulldogs, 24 possessions and 5 goals. Geelong's travel bug struck them down again as Hansen and Embley guided the Eagles to victory. The grand final rematch produced the same result, albeit a much closer margin. It was vintage Matthew Primus who led by example, while his deputy Treadray closed the night with 5 goals in a 2-point victory. A good old half-time dust-up sparked what had been a dull game in Launceston. Just minutes out, Hamill put the Saints ahead.
As they say in the classics, that is a very handy point.
They would see out the challenge to collect their first win of the season. It was also tight at the Dome. Andrew McLeod finally breaking the deadlock.
Left foot goal! He's a superstar!
And while that was going on, Richmond held on to deny the Hawks their first win of the season. Brown and the best with 23 touches and 3 goals.
Round 2, Carlton versus Essendon. Essendon, M. Johnson, 1 vote. Essendon, S. Lucas, 2 votes. Carlton, L. Whitnell, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Sydney. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 1 vote. Sydney, L. Ablett, 2 votes. Kangaroos, J. Sinclair, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Melbourne. Melbourne, A. Uze, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, A. Cooney, 2 votes. Melbourne, C. Bruce, 3 votes. West Coast versus Geelong. West Coast, A. Embley, 1 vote. Geelong, S. Burns, 2 votes. West Coast, A. Hanson, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Brisbane. Port Adelaide, W. Treadray, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, M. Primus, 2 votes. Brisbane, L. Power, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Fremantle. Fremantle, P. Bell, 1 vote. St Kilda, R. Harvey, 2 votes. Fremantle, J. Longmuir, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Adelaide. Collingwood, B. Johnson, 1 vote. Collingwood, B. Caracella, 2 votes. Adelaide, A. McLeod, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Richmond. Hawthorn, L. Franklin, 1 vote. Richmond, K. Pettifer, 2 votes. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 3 votes.
Melbourne remained on top of the ladder after easily outpointing Geelong. Cameron Bruce again the driving force, but the night belonged to David Meats with 5 goals in game 250. The round of rivalry continued with Carlton playing Collingwood and Camporelli reacquainting himself with Holland. In the end, it was the Pies collecting the points, Campo a 1-match suspension. Yet another final quarter cameo from Shannon Grant enabled the Kangaroos to overrun St Kilda. The Dockers were looking the goods at half-time in the Derby after Luke McFarlane pulled a trampoline out of his sock. But after the break, it was the Eagles who found another gear, Judd in the driver's seat. Brisbane were in cruise control against Sydney. Ahead by 31 points at three-quarter time, the Swans waited until after the final siren before grabbing the lead for the first time.
Sydney have won!
Adelaide, meanwhile, were busy dishing out the Power's second biggest showdown loss. Rashuto, Goodwin and Macna all likely to feature in the voting. Without a win between them, Essendon took on a fresh-faced Hawthorn. After managing just 1 goal to half-time, the Hawks' youthful exuberance came to the fore. It was only a controversial decision that denied them a much-needed win. While a mistake of a different sort may have cost the Bulldogs victory over Richmond.
And right now, Cam Faulkner is looking for a hole to open up and swallow him.
Round 3. Melbourne versus Geelong. Geelong, J. Hunt, 1 vote. Melbourne, C. Bizzle, 2 votes. Melbourne, C. Bruce, 3 votes. Carlton versus Collingwood. Collingwood, C. Tarrant, 1 vote. Carlton, N. Stevens, 2 votes. Collingwood, A. Rocker, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Kangaroos. Kangaroos, L. Brown, 1 vote. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 2 votes. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 3 votes. Fremantle versus West Coast. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 1 vote. West Coast, C. Judd, 2 votes. West Coast, D. Kerr, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Sydney. Sydney, B. Hall, 1 vote. Sydney, J. Bolton, 2 votes. Brisbane, J. Ackermanis, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. Adelaide, B. Riley, 1 vote. Adelaide, M. Risciuto, 2 votes. Adelaide, M. Matner, 3 votes. Essendon versus Hawthorn. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 1 vote. Essendon, J. Johnson, 2 votes. Hawthorn, J. Smith, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Richmond. Richmond, N. Brown, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, D. Giansiracusa, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, N. Eagleton, 3 votes.
Well, that concludes the first 3 rounds of voting in the 2005 Brownlow medal as we check the leaderboard now. And Cameron Bruce, as the boys predicted, is the winner, the leader at the moment. Not necessarily the winner, but he's the leader. Cameron Bruce from the Melbourne Football Club on 8 votes. Daniel Kerr member of that magnificent midfield for the West Coast Eagles on 6, with Luke Power from the Brisbane Lions also on 6 votes. Sydney's Jude Bolton, Shannon Grant, what a season he's had for the Kangaroos, the All-Australian. And amongst those with 3 votes, a number of them on 3 votes, Eagleton, Smith, Matner, Ackermanis and Anthony Rocco. We'll take a break, be back with more in the 2005 Brownlow medal, thanks to Toyota right after this.
It's A for assortment.
Welcome back to the Crown Palladium Room as we get set for the votes from round 4. You might have noticed that Ben Cousins, the pre-vote favourite, yet to poll the vote. But ladies and gentlemen, over the next month of football, he averages 28 disposals. Here's round 4.
Glenn Archer set the tone early, with the Roos looking to make it 4 from 4.
And that is a magnificent Glenn Archer goal.
Rocker and Tarrant were climbing for Mark of the Year honours.
It takes a spectacular mark.
With the contest in the balance, Tarrant missed the chance to put his side ahead. The Kangas celebrating their best start to a season in 26 years. Hawthorn pulled off mission implausible, knocking off Brisbane. Mark Williams' 6-goal haul, lifting the Hawks off the bottom of the ladder. That position was given to Essendon after a percentage-boosting win to Geelong. West Coast shot to the top of the table, Judd and Cousins collecting nearly 70 possessions between them. Across at Amy Stadium, the Power looked in control throughout the first half before the Blues pushed them all away.
We have a draw at Amy Stadium.
It was the Crows saving their best footy for after half-time. They piled on 12 goals to 4 to run out comfortable victors. Richmond won its 3rd game in a row with an easy win over Fremantle. Cameron Bruce's Brownlow chances came crashing down in the opening minute against St Kilda. Gehrig, Ball and Del Santo having a big say in the win, which put the Saints inside the top 8.
Round 4, Kangaroos versus Collingwood. Kangaroos, C. Jones, 1 vote. Kangaroos, B. Harvey, 2 votes. Kangaroos, D. Wells, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Brisbane. Hawthorn, S. Crawford, 1 vote. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 2 votes. Hawthorn, S. Mitchell, 3 votes. West Coast versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, L. Gilby, 1 vote. West Coast, B. Cousins, 2 votes. West Coast, C. Judd, 3 votes. Geelong versus Essendon. Geelong, P. Chapman, 1 vote. Geelong, J. Hunt, 2 votes. Geelong, C. Enright, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Carlton. Port Adelaide, P. Walsh, 1 vote. Carlton, N. Stevens, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, S. Dew, 3 votes. Sydney versus Adelaide. Adelaide, M. Risciuto, 1 vote. Adelaide, T. Edwards, 2 votes. Adelaide, M. Matner, 3 votes. Richmond versus Fremantle. Richmond, N. Brown, 1 vote. Richmond, M. Richardson, 2 votes. Richmond, C. Hyde, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Melbourne. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. St Kilda, F. Gehrig, 2 votes. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 3 votes.
After 13 interstate losses, Geelong finally broke the drought against Port Adelaide. The signs were good early, with Brad Ottens answering the growing list of critics. Down the stretch, it was vintage Riccardi who put his team ahead early in the last. And it all came down to the final charge down the ground. The Cats winners by 4 points, leaving the Power with just 1 win for the season. Matthew Pavlich was at it again, pulling down 18 marks and kicking a couple of handy goals in the Dockers' win over Carlton. More bad news for the Blues, with Favola suspended for 2 weeks. The Kangaroos remained undefeated after outpointing Hawthorn. Sam Rocker kicking 5 goals in the 19-point win. Melbourne also had few problems dealing with the Swans. Miller and McLean the stars. After trailing the Crows for most of the night, a 9-goal onslaught in the third sent the Dogs on their way. The perfect way to honour one of their finest, and further awards with a spot in the top 8. The Eagles made it 5 in a row when they dealt the Lions their biggest loss in nearly 4 years. St Kilda continued to regain form, scoring 22 goals in a big win over the Tigers. While on Anzac Day, James Hird was the early aggressor. Hird crashes into Wakeland. A couple of unlikely heroes in Laycock and Lovett helped keep Essendon ahead at every change. Despite a three-quarter time rev from Malthouse, the Bombers held on to win by 14 points. Andrew Lovett, in just his 3rd game, honoured with the Anzac Medal.
Round 5. Port Adelaide versus Geelong. Port Adelaide, W. Treadray, 1 vote. Geelong, B. Ottens, 2 votes. Geelong, C. Ling, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Carlton. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 1 vote. Fremantle, M. Carr, 2 votes. Fremantle, H. Black, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Hawthorn. Kangaroos, D. Harris, 1 vote. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 2 votes. Hawthorn, C. Bateman, 3 votes. Sydney versus Melbourne. Melbourne, T. Johnston, 1 vote. Melbourne, N. Brown, 2 votes. Melbourne, B. McLean, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Adelaide. Western Bulldogs, R. Murphy, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, L. Darcy, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 3 votes. Brisbane versus West Coast. West Coast, D. Wirrapunda, 1 vote. West Coast, D. Chick, 2 votes. West Coast, A. Embley, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Richmond. St Kilda, A. Jones, 1 vote. St Kilda, S. Milne, 2 votes. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 3 votes. Essendon versus Collingwood. Collingwood, R. Shaw, 1 vote. Essendon, A. Lovett, 2 votes. Essendon, J. Hurd, 3 votes.
Friday night football returned to the Dome, and in a low-scoring affair, Hodge and Williams gave the Hawks the edge for much of the night. At the other end, Jared Waite was doing his best to keep the Blues alive.
Career best for Jared Waite.
Waite's 5th levelled the contest, while a couple of late ones to Betts gave Carlton its 2nd win of the season. The Kangaroos' unbeaten run came to an end in Adelaide. Hayden Skipworth, the destroyer, with 3 goals in less time than it takes to floss. Archer would later accept a 1-match suspension for tripping. The MCG held no fears for the Dockers when they took on Melbourne. Pavlich was unstoppable, while Farmer was all smiles with his 7-goal haul. The Eagles set the tone against the Swans when they slammed on 6 goals straight in the 2nd quarter. Cousins and Wirrapunda the standouts. The long-awaited return of Jonathan Brown couldn't have come at a worse time for Essendon. Brown was simply outstanding with 14 marks and 8 goals.
Vintage Brown.
More worrying news for the Bombers, with their skipper to miss 3 games with a hamstring injury. The diagnosis was a lot worse for Bulldogs leader Luke Darcy. His season coming to an unfortunate end with a knee injury. Del Santo was in the thick of it again as the Saints pushed Collingwood to the bottom of the ladder. Gehrig put on an 8-goal show, but a small indiscretion would see him miss the following week through suspension. The reigning Premier's season hit a new low when last year's Wooden Spooners kicked 13 unanswered goals. Brown responsible for 5 of them, Richardson 2 in game 200.
Round 6, Carlton versus Hawthorn. Carlton, D. Teague, 1 vote. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 2 votes. Carlton, J. Waite, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Kangaroos. Adelaide, G. Johncock, 1 vote. Kangaroos, A. Simpson, 2 votes. Adelaide, H. Skipworth, 3 votes. Melbourne versus Fremantle. Fremantle, P. Bell, 1 vote. Fremantle, J. Farmer, 2 votes. Fremantle, M. Pavlich, 3 votes. West Coast Eagles versus Sydney. West Coast, C. Judd, 1 vote. West Coast, B. Cousins, 2 votes. West Coast, D. Wirrapunda, 3 votes. Essendon versus Brisbane. Brisbane, L. Power, 1 vote. Brisbane, N. Lappin, 2 votes. Brisbane, J. Brown, 3 votes. Geelong versus Western Bulldogs. Geelong, M. Scarlett, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, L. Gilby, 2 votes. Geelong, J. Bartel, 3 votes. Collingwood versus St Kilda. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. St Kilda, F. Gehrig, 2 votes. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 3 votes. Richmond versus Port Adelaide. Richmond, N. Brown, 1 vote. Richmond, S. Tuck, 2 votes. Richmond, M. Richardson, 3 votes.
Well, there you go, 6 rounds of voting. Let's have a look at the leaderboard. And up on top from St Kilda is Nick Del Santo with 11 votes. He is 3 votes clear now of Cameron Bruce on 8. Luke Power from Brisbane on 7 with Peter Everett. Chris Judd with the cross next to him means he's ineligible after being rubbed out last year's winner on 6 votes. Turning the page to Heath Black and Cameron Ling, Martin Matner and Daniel Kerr all on 6 votes. So some big West Coast Eagles players in there at the moment. Cousins not one of them. And Matthew Richardson from Richmond on 5 votes. Well, let's cross down now. A man who many say has the similar style to Ian Stewart, a triple Brownlow medalist, one of only 4 players to win 3 Brownlows, is St Kilda's Nick Del Santo. And Nick, you better switch onto the water for a while, mate.
Very early, Ed. I think Ben's just about to make his move.
You think so? Well, mate, congratulations so far. 11 votes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Nick Del Santo. What a fantastic start to the season. Mate, something for the Saints fans after a disappointing... There you go, Matt Maguire's just thrown the napkin on your head. He didn't know there was a second question coming there, but Matt will be in the spotlight tomorrow night, of course. But Nick, tell us about, for the St Kilda fans, mate, something... it's been a disappointing weekend, obviously, for you.
Yeah, obviously very disappointing, 2nd year in a row, but, you've got to take the positives out of it, and the boys will have a good hard look at themselves over the next 8 weeks and ready to go for next year. Good on you, Nick. Enjoy the rest of the night. Nick Del Santo, ladies and gentlemen, leading the Brownlow medal after 6 rounds of votes. Let's cross over to Gary and Dermot now to find out what's happening, particularly to Ben Cousins and Nick Del Santo, our early leader.
Thanks, Ed. We thought we'd have a look at Nick Del Santo's report card. He's got away to a flyer. He's just peeled off 3 best on grounds in a row, which is a fair effort, but according to us, Nick, you can get back on the beer until round 16 anyway, when we reckon you're going to fire up again, but it's a very nice start you've got there, 11 votes.
He's doing exceptionally well. Now, Benny Cousins, we had predicted that he'd possibly pick up anywhere to around 8 votes by round 6. We've got 4 there. He's only got the 4 at the moment. We had thought it would have been 8. Maybe the midfield of the West Coast is starting to impose themselves on his vote-scoring prowess.
I guess that's always a worry when you've got a hot favourite like that. Such a talented West Coast Eagle team. Derm, we can have a look at the Eagles midfielders that are peeling off votes as we speak. Chris Judd's always going to pull votes, of course. Daniel Kerr's a big possession winner. Andrew Embley, David Wirrapunda, and there's Cuz down the bottom. So he's got his work cut out, but he's got some big games coming up.
He's certainly got some great form ahead of him. And having a look at some of the short price favourites for the punters at home, Scotty West, Matty Pavlich and Barry Hall. West and Pavlich have 3 votes each, and Barry Hall just the 1 at this point in time.
Good on you, boys. We'll take a break. Back with the counting of the votes for the 2005 Brownlow medal right after this, thanks to Toyota.
This thing I call love, it cries in a cradle all night.
all over like a jellyfish. I kinda like it. Crazy little thing called love. There goes my baby. She knows how to rock and roll. She drives me crazy. She gives me hot and cold fever, then she leaves me in a cool, cool sweat. I gotta be cool, relax, get half.
He did very well from the under-8 side, and every time he went up to a different grade, he continued to perform really well. So it looked as though he'd had a good future for him. There was a shot of Matthew playing at Footy Park in the mini league as a 7-year-old. It was the last game that West Torrens played at Football Park, and he was fortunate enough to be able to play in the mini league. So it's part of the club's history, I suppose.
I thought very early on that he was a very good chance of playing at the top level. He was a class above. Yeah, a once-in-a-lifetime type player, I think.
Yeah, the year Matthew turned 14, we bought him a portable CD player, cassette player for his birthday. And when he opened it up, he only took the outside paperwork off and he said, well, that's not what I wanted, Dad. All I wanted was a brand new Sharon.
He basically was winning games off his own boot, really, as a Year 11 student. And he was able to turn games. He was just a complete footballer at that stage. A pleasure to coach.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the stars of the AFL, Matthew Pavlich. Matthew, welcome aboard tonight, mate. Looking at that, football obviously has been a massive part of your life from the time you were a little boy.
Yeah, I guess it has been, Ed. I'm obviously pretty lucky that my family is heavily involved in football in South Australia, with Dad playing at West Torrens and whatnot, so been lucky enough to be involved for a long time.
And for the Fremantle Dockers, you could well become the first Fremantle Docker to win the Brownlow, the 6th South Australian to do so.
Well, Heath Black's playing very well at the moment. He tells me just before he left to go to the toilet that he's going to win, so he's having a good night.
Good on you, Matthew. Enjoy it, mate. You've polled once, but I'm tipping you might get 3 votes in this one because, remember, you kicked 7 goals against Collingwood in round 7. Scott West, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the people's favourite here tonight, is getting a round of applause from all the Bulldogs fans here tonight. Strap in because over the next 5 rounds, Scott West averages 28 disposals. Here we go, round 7 of the Toyota Premiership season.
40 metres from goal, hooks it across the body. Bacon square bounces through. For 3 quarters, there was never much in the contest involving Melbourne and Adelaide. 3 unanswered goals in the final term, though, saw the D's break the shackles. Geelong also kept their best for last when they came from behind to defeat St Kilda. Ling and Milburn again in the Cats' best, while Luke Ball was outstanding for the Saints. Richmond's resurrection continued, kicking the opening 12 goals against Carlton. Coghlan back in form with 38 disposals in the Tigers' biggest ever win over the Blues. The Bulldogs, for so long underdogs with a bad pedigree, upset the Lions in Brisbane. Each time the home side challenged, the Dogs found a new trick.
Johnson's dangerous from here. Oh, what a goal, Brett Johnson!
Stalwarts Johnson, Smith and West enjoying one of their finest victories in years. Essendon's last quarter fade-outs came back to haunt them. Brett Kirk and Barry Hall were the stars in Sydney's 6-point win. In the battle of the midfields, the Eagles had the edge over Hawthorn in Launceston. Fletcher, Cox and Cousins ensuring their team's unblemished record remained intact. Port Adelaide set themselves up for victory over the Kangaroos with an 8-goal second term. Treadray the main attraction. Across at Subiaco, the Dockers were busy breaking records. 28 goals, 12, their highest score ever, the 112-point win, their biggest on record.
Round 7, Melbourne versus Adelaide. Melbourne, J. White, 1 vote. Melbourne, A. Uze, 2 votes. Melbourne, N. Brown, 3 votes. Geelong versus St Kilda. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. Geelong, J. Corey, 2 votes. Geelong, D. Milburn, 3 votes. Richmond versus Carlton. Richmond, N. Brown, 1 vote. Richmond, M. Richardson, 2 votes. Richmond, M. Coughlin, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, D. Cross, 1 vote. Brisbane, J. Ackermanis, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, R. Murphy, 3 votes. Sydney versus Essendon. Essendon, D. Peveril, 1 vote. Sydney, L. Ablett, 2 votes. Essendon, A. McPhee, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus West Coast. West Coast, D. Cox, 1 vote. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 2 votes. West Coast, C. Fletcher, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Kangaroos. Port Adelaide, M. Wilson, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, G. Wanganeen, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, W. Treadray, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Collingwood. Fremantle, J. Carr, 1 vote. Fremantle, P. Bell, 2 votes. Fremantle, M. Pavlich, 3 votes.
Gary Ablett was outstanding with 26 touches and 4 goals as the Cats notched up their 5th win on the trot.
He's got there.
And if it wasn't difficult enough to pick a winner, the Hawks upset Melbourne. Their work at the stoppage is the highlight, and a big factor, Williams booting a career-high 8 goals. For the second week in a row, the Eagles trio of Fletcher, Cousins and Cox combined brilliantly. This time, St Kilda left with no answers. Sitting at the wrong end of the ladder, the Brisbane Lions began their move with victory in Adelaide. The Western Bulldogs won 2 in a row when they overran the Kangaroos. Gian Siracusa, Murphy and Grant named in the best. The Swans dealt Port Adelaide another potential knockout blow. Leo Barry kept Treadray goalless in the 4-goal victory. Richmond was finding the going tougher than expected against the Magpies. Trailing at 3/4 time, Nathan Brown almost single-handedly decided the result.
Can he manufacture something? Yes, he can.
Brown's 5-goal final term gave the Tigers their 3rd successive win. Celebrating 25 years in the business, Essendon made sure Sheedy had a day to remember. Andrew Lovett the star with a bag of fun.
Take a bow, Andrew Lovett.
Round 8, Carlton versus Geelong. Geelong, D. Milburn, 1 vote. Geelong, J. Corey, 2 votes. Geelong, G. Ablett, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Melbourne. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 1 vote. Hawthorn, M. Williams, 2 votes. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 3 votes. West Coast versus St Kilda. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. West Coast, D. Kerr, 2 votes. West Coast, B. Cousins, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Brisbane. Adelaide, M. Matner, 1 vote. Adelaide, S. Thompson, 2 votes. Brisbane, S. Black, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Western Bulldogs. Kangaroos, G. Archer, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, C. Grant, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, D. Gian Siracusa, 3 votes. Sydney versus Port Adelaide. Sydney, M. O'Loughlin, 1 vote. Sydney, L. Barry, 2 votes. Sydney, J. Bolton, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Richmond. Collingwood, P. Lacuria, 1 vote. Collingwood, S. Prestigiacomo, 2 votes. Richmond, N. Brown, 3 votes. Essendon versus Fremantle. Essendon, S. Lucas, 1 vote. Fremantle, M. Pavlich, 2 votes. Essendon, A. Lovett, 3 votes.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. After 8 rounds of voting, the Brownlow Medal of 2005 has been thrown wide open. Some surprising results. Nick Del Santo leading with 11 votes from the Spider. Big Spiders there with 10 votes from Hawthorn. Matthew Pavlich starting to make his move. Daniel Kerr up there on 8 votes. Cameron Bruce from Melbourne on 8 votes. Nathan Brown on 7. Jude Bolton 7. Matner. Ben Cousins getting 3 votes, but we reckon he's at least 3 shy of where we thought he might be at this stage. Matthew Richardson on 7. Barry Hall just 1 vote. And Westy so far just 3 votes, missing out on a 3-voter, according to the Wide World of Sports commentary team. We'll take a break. Back with more on the Brownlow Medal right after this. Welcome back to the Crown Palladium Room as we continue the counting of the 2005 Brownlow Medal. It is anyone's Brownlow this year again. Well, look forward to this. Ben Cousins over the next month averages 28 disposals. We expect him to pick up 3 votes in round 10 against Port Adelaide. And in the next 2 rounds of voting, Travis Johnson of Melbourne, the dominant player in the competition.
It looked like being a long night for Adelaide with St Kilda 4-goal leaders at quarter time, but the class of McLeod and Rashuda instrumental in the Crows kicking 14 of the next 17 goals. Welsh also prominent with 5 majors. Carlton's farewell to Optus Oval didn't follow the script. Russell Robertson's bag of 6, a personal best in the Demons' victory.
What a game!
At the MCG, bottom place Collingwood inflicted the first Eagles loss of the season. Trailing early in the final term, the young Magpies overran the opposition. For just the 3rd time in modern history, 16th had beaten 1st. Richmond didn't care too much for history when they defeated the Lions in Brisbane. Shane Tuck continuing his rapid rise. There was another surprise on the cards with Essendon leading Port Adelaide. But what wasn't a surprise was the Bombers' final term, outscored by 22 points. Treadway back in touch with 14 marks and 5 goals. The following afternoon, tipsters were again left scratching their heads when Hawthorn stunned the Dockers in Perth. The Hawks led at every change with Everett, Crawford, Mitchell and Hodge the main playmakers. Geelong made it 6 in a row when they easily accounted for the Kangaroos. The Cats spreading the load with 13 different goal kickers. A strong second half from Sydney saw them jump into the top 8. O'Loughlin the spark with a 4-goal 3rd term.
Amazing. His 3rd.
Round 9, St Kilda versus Adelaide. Adelaide, B. Hart, 1 vote. Adelaide, A. McLeod, 2 votes. Adelaide, M. Rashuto, 3 votes. Carlton versus Melbourne. Carlton, A. Koutafidis, 1 vote. Melbourne, R. Robertson, 2 votes. Melbourne, B. McLean, 3 votes. Collingwood versus West Coast. Collingwood, J. Clement, 1 vote. West Coast, C. Fletcher, 2 votes. Collingwood, B. Caracella, 3 votes. Brisbane Lions versus Richmond. Richmond, K. Johnson, 1 vote. Richmond, M. Coughlin, 2 votes. Richmond, S. Tuck, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Essendon. Essendon, D. Peveril, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, R. James, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, W. Treadray, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Sydney. Sydney, B. Kirk, 1 vote. Sydney, J. Bolton, 2 votes. Sydney, M. O'Loughlin, 3 votes. Geelong versus Kangaroos. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 1 vote. Geelong, J. Bartel, 2 votes. Geelong, S. Johnson, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Hawthorn. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 1 vote. Hawthorn, S. Mitchell, 2 votes. Hawthorn, S. Crawford, 3 votes.
Melbourne enjoyed the spotlight of Friday night football with a big win over Richmond. Johnston and Uze best of field with 8 goals between them.
He decides to test himself, and he's passed with flying colours.
The night ended in horror for Richmond's Nathan Brown. Reading the form of the Dockers was bordering on impossible. Their first win ever in Geelong only confirmed that.
Oh, he does it! Jeff Farmer!
Collingwood lifted itself from the last rung on the ladder with victory over Hawthorn.
Tearing out of midair! What a goal!
Sam Mitchell's 39 disposals and 18 clearances is expected to see him feature in the votes, along with Clement and Caroselli. The Swans were coming under scrutiny for playing a so-called ugly brand of football. Not that it bothered Gehrig, who slotted through 7 goals, while sidekick Milne chipped in with a handy 3. Carlton's season was slowly sinking, and they too were limiting the damage with a conservative game plan. The Crows breaking it down towards the end. It was all-out attack between the Dogs and the Bombers. With the game in the balance, who else would you want to have the ball?
It's got 3, Bombers are home!
Brisbane's season lay in limbo after the Kangaroos upstaged them at their once powerful fortress. 16 different Eagles got on the score sheet as West Coast defeated Port Adelaide, who after half-time hit rock bottom and started to dig. Cousins brilliant along with Kerr and Embley. The only bad news, the suspension of Tyson Stendline.
Round 10, Melbourne versus Richmond. Melbourne, T. Johnston, 1 vote. Melbourne, A. Uze, 2 votes. Melbourne, B. McLean, 3 votes. Geelong versus Fremantle. Geelong, J. Bartel, 1 vote. Fremantle, J. Farmer, 2 votes. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Collingwood. Hawthorn, S. Crawford, 1 vote. Collingwood, J. Clement, 2 votes. Hawthorn, S. Mitchell, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Kangaroos. Brisbane, J. Brown, 1 vote. Kangaroos, D. Wells, 2 votes. Kangaroos, N. Thompson, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Sydney. St Kilda, S. Milne, 1 vote. St Kilda, L. Hayes, 2 votes. St Kilda, F. Gehrig, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Carlton. Carlton, B. Favola, 1 vote. Carlton, A. Carazzo, 2 votes. Adelaide, T. Edwards, 3 votes. Essendon versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, R. Murphy, 2 votes. Essendon, A. McPhee, 3 votes. West Coast versus Port Adelaide. West Coast, M. Braun, 1 vote. West Coast, D. Kerr, 2 votes. West Coast, B. Cousins, 3 votes.
So there you go. That man there, that could be the face of football, ladies and gentlemen, if he wins the Brownlow medal in 2005. Peter Everett on 11 votes. Nick Del Santo on 11 votes. Ben Cousins, as predicted, gets 3 votes in round 10 and starts to make his move. But he's going to have to fight his teammate Daniel Kerr on 10 votes. Brock McLean is the smoky in 2005 on 9 votes. Jude Bolton right up there on 9. Sam Mitchell, Warren Treadray, Matthew Pavlich and Cameron Bruce, all with a show in the Brownlow medal of 2005. Gary and Derm, how are we looking?
Well, big Peter Spider Everett doing political statements there as well, but he's having a sensational year, Derm. You have a look at his report card. The Hawks only win 2 more games from this point forward, so that may work against him, but Still some voting games to come. He's had an All-Australian year, so he's got to be some sort of chance.
Has polled in 2 losing games, so he can prove he polls when the Hawks don't win as well. Let's have a look at Daniel Kerr. He's pulling some votes away from Benny Cousins. Unexpected to poll votes in rounds 1, 3 and 8. He came home with the goods there. And with the Eagles winning the next 6, could poll again.
Scotty West, we reckon he was robbed in round 7. He had 30 possessions, a big win over Brisbane, and didn't poll at all. We still think he's got 6 more voting games, so Westy's still a big chance.
And 4th favourite for the evening tonight, Barry Hall, still sitting on 1 vote. And the good news is last year's clubhouse leader in this room, Cameron Ling, from all reports, he's leading again this evening, hotly pressed by Stevie Baker for enjoying the evening.
Good on you, boys. Linger, at the moment, the 3 votes in enjoying the Brownlow Medal of 2005. What's all happening over in Western Australia at the Burswood Entertainment Centre? That's where we find Dennis Committee alongside the absolute star of last year's Brownlow Medal. That's Rebecca Twigley. And alongside her, a bloke who did pretty well as well. Apparently won a medal, Chris Judd.
Yeah, good on you, Ed. If you want fashion, I'm your man, of course. Rebecca, how are the nerves tonight? Simply because Chris is ineligible, you're feeling more relaxed?
Yeah, really relaxed. There's no nerves tonight.
I think the last time I heard this question, I was playing footy. It was directed at me. Tell us about your dress.
It's Celestial Tennille tonight, and it's hand-painted, and it's a couture gown, and I'm very lucky to be wearing it.
Is there a draft for designers? How do you pick a designer?
Well, I've had a look at a few designers' ranges, and yeah, thought this one was the best, so came up with this one.
Now, this is pretty crass, but they've asked me to ask you, would you mind standing up? If I stand up with you, the girls and the guys out there. Here we go. How's that? The expression degree of difficulty immediately springs to mind. Terrific. And what about Saturday? Feeling relaxed about that as well?
No, not relaxed at all. Just, yeah, so nervous.
It's going to be a big day. I'll go over here and speak to Prince Philip. Chris?
You can stand up if you want.
How are you feeling about the weekend?
Oh, just looking forward to it. Obviously, you know, tonight's a great night, and hopefully Cuzzy can make a run for it, but obviously we've got some bigger things to come later on in the week.
52 weeks ago, any vivid memories?
No vivid ones. A few vague memories of the night, but no, it was a huge honour and a very exciting week.
Will it be a Brownlow and a premiership in the space of 53 weeks, do you think? Are you confident about this one?
Oh, you know, I obviously hope so. I think we've played some good footy all year as of Sydney, and we'll be doing our utmost to get the premiership medallions.
And they've played you tough a couple of times.
Yeah, Sydney are a very good side, and we've got a lot of respect for them, so all holds well for a good match.
And just before we go, any advice for tonight's winner? He could be just a couple of seats away.
Oh, no, just pound the waters and enjoy it.
Back to you, Ed.
Good on you, Dennis. Dennis Committee at the Burswood Entertainment Centre. Put your hands together for Dennis, Rebecca Twigley, and, of course, Chris Judd, a wonderful winner from last year, and good luck for the grand final this week. We'll be crossing to Sydney shortly to speak with Barry Hall. But in the meantime, as we go to the break, let's celebrate 2 wonderful teams, the West Coast Eagles and the Sydney Swans, who'll face off for the 2005 Toyota Premiership on Saturday.
And it's so good, dancing on the air, it feels so good. Nothing can compare, 'cause the beat in our hearts is the beat of the charts. Like a spotlight, we're cutting through. It feels so good, shining here in front of you.
I think from a very early age, from playing footy on a Saturday morning, we'd go to the footy Saturday afternoon, he'd come home and want to have a kick of the footy, then he'd go inside and watch the footy replay, and then Sunday we'd play again. So he just had this passion for it.
I realised he was good enough from the first night I saw him on the training track. He just had the balance, the beautiful balance, the vision he had, the way he won the ball. We knew he was going to be an AFL footballer, and he had the desire to do it too.
We were fairly successful at Strathmore. We had a fair few premierships. The most memorable was a under-16s premiership over at Windy Hill. Scott was fairly instrumental in that, and it was our last game together, I think, at Strathmore, so that made it even more memorable.
With them being the twin brothers and playing together, Brent was more the aggressor than Scott was. In the grand final, Scott got a free kick and one of the players elbowed his twin brother in the head because he had the football, and yeah, Scott pushed him away and they looked after each other.
He was prepared to put in the hard yards, make the sacrifices, and I think he deserves 100% of the credit for where he's got to.
Welcome back to the 2005 Brownlow medal. Scott West, everybody, one of the absolute champions of the game. Great to see Scott as a young man there. Westy, you finished second, third and fourth in the last 7 years. You've polled more Brownlow votes than any current player to have not won the Brownlow medal. Mate, how are you feeling about tonight?
I'm coming from a long way back, Ed, but it's a lovely night and there's a lot of lovely people in the room, so just enjoying.
Well, mate, we know that you come home with the wet sail in the last 4 or 5 rounds. We reckon you're going to pick up votes in round 11 as well.
It's going to have to be very wet at this stage, but you never know, Ed.
Good on you, mate. Well, congratulations. Probably a 7th best and fairest at the Western Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the all-time greats, Scott West, with us tonight from the Western Bulldogs. All right, well, he terrorised everyone at centre-half forward. Jonathan Brown went into the centre for the Brisbane Lions, and over the next 3 rounds, he averaged 24 disposals and 2 goals a game.
Collingwood's mid-season rise contributed to Geelong's slide. Tarrant put up his hand for Mark of the Year. Tarrant! Oh! Relishing his role as skipper, Barry Hall proved the difference between the Swans and Carlton. The game of the round was at the MCG, where the Eagles jumped to a 5-goal lead at the half. A stunning 10-minute burst put the Tigers back in the hunt.
A cracker! Bangs it home!
Chris Judd then emphatically called a halt to proceedings.
A goal!
The Tigers weren't done, managing to edge in front midway through the final turn. But it was Judd again, delivering the knockout blow. Brisbane were finding it easier to win on the road than at home. They also discovered a new weapon in the midfield. Brown and Power each racked up 29 possessions. Essendon's season went from bad to worse after being on the receiving end of an 88-point belting by the Crows. McGregor and Goodwin 4 goals each. 4 third-quarter goals from Robertson propelled Melbourne to a winning position at Monica. Bruce the game-breaker with 21 touches and 4 goals. Port were back in the winner's circle after disposing of St Kilda. The Burgoyne brothers an eye-catching double act. With Hawthorn looking for options short and wide, the Bulldogs' direct style of play paid dividends. Cross and West the major ball winners, while Williams kicked 6 of the Hawks' 13 goals.
Round 11. Collingwood versus Geelong. Collingwood, A. Didak, 1 vote. Collingwood, J. Clement, 2 votes. Collingwood, B. Holland, 3 votes. Carlton versus Sydney. Carlton, L. Whitnell, 1 vote. Sydney, B. Hall, 2 votes. Sydney, J. Bolton, 3 votes. Richmond versus West Coast. West Coast, B. Cousins, 1 vote. Richmond, M. Coughlin, 2 votes. West Coast, C. Judd, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Brisbane. Fremantle, T. Cook, 1 vote. Brisbane, J. Brown, 2 votes. Brisbane, L. Power, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Essendon. Adelaide, K. McGregor, 1 vote. Adelaide, S. Thompson, 2 votes. Adelaide, S. Goodwin, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Melbourne. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 1 vote. Melbourne, B. Miller, 2 votes. Melbourne, T. Johnston, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Port Adelaide. St Kilda, L. Hayes, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, B. Montgomery, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, P. Burgoyne, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn. Hawthorn, C. Brown, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, D. Cross, 2 votes. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 3 votes.
West Coast were cruising at the halfway mark, 3 wins clear, and a skipper whose Brownlow chances just got stronger with every game. Sam Mitchell was also coming into the market despite his Hawks struggling to find wins. But the big bolter was Jonathan Brown. It's no coincidence his return had Brisbane climbing back into contention. The Bulldogs won 3 quarters against the Power. Unfortunately, the one they lost cost them dearly. The Corns brothers combining for 65 possessions, while Adam Cooney was again in the Dogs' best. Returning from injury, Paul Williams set the Swans on their way. O'Loughlin and Hall each finished with 4 goals. Despite not kicking a goal in the second or fourth quarters, Geelong held on to defeat Adelaide. Matthew Scarlett in all-Australian form with 30 touches and 14 marks. The Kangaroos led at every change in their 5-goal win over Richmond. While on the Queen's birthday Monday, the Demons' second-half blitz gave them the points over Collingwood. Johnston and Uze creating the most opportunities. Both teams would be left to count the cost. Neitz fractured his cheekbone, while Rhys Shaw's great season came to an end after injuring his knee.
Round 12. West Coast versus Essendon. Essendon, M. Johnson, 1 vote. West Coast, B. Cousins, 2 votes. West Coast, D. Kerr, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus St Kilda. Hawthorn, S. Mitchell, 1 vote. St Kilda, F. Gehrig, 2 votes. St Kilda, M. Maguire, 3 votes. Carlton versus Brisbane Lions. Carlton, A. Koutafidis, 1 vote. Brisbane, M. Voss, 2 votes. Brisbane, J. Brown, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, A. Cooney, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, K. Corns, 3 votes. Sydney versus Fremantle. Sydney, P. Williams, 1 vote. Sydney, T. Kennelly, 2 votes. Sydney, A. Buchanan, 3 votes. Geelong versus Adelaide. Geelong, C. Ling, 1 vote. Geelong, M. Scarlett, 2 votes. Adelaide, N. Bassett, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Richmond. Kangaroos, L. Harding, 1 vote. Kangaroos, N. Thompson, 2 votes. Kangaroos, B. Harvey, 3 votes. Melbourne versus Collingwood. Melbourne, B. Miller, 1 vote. Melbourne, A. Uze, 2 votes. Melbourne, T. Johnston, 3 votes.
So there we go, over the halfway mark of the counting of the 2005 Brownlow medal, thanks to Toyota. And on top of the ladder were the West Coast Eagles. On top of the votes, 2 West Coast Eagles. Daniel Kerr and Ben Cousins tied on 13 votes. Jude Bolton, the bolter, literally there, with 12 votes from the Sydney Swans, the grand finalists up the top of the ladder. Peter Spider Everett still amongst it with 11 votes from St Kilda's Nick Del Santo, who'll poll some more in the run home. The Brisbane Lions, Luke Power on 10. Jonathan Brown moves to 9. Fraser Gehrig on 9. Sam Mitchell 9. Luke Hodge on 9. Chris Judd also ineligible on 9 votes. Brock McLean of Melbourne. Travis Johnson starting to make his move on 8 votes. Warren Treadray of Port Adelaide with their good form coming in the back half of the year with 8 votes. And Matthew Pavlich will poll some more votes on the run home with 8, as will Cameron Bruce on 8, Adam Uze on 7, Ling, Coughlin and Edwards all on 7 votes. As we go to the break, let's pay tribute to some of the greats who announced their retirement in season 2005.
Jared Healy. Jim Stein from the Melbourne Football Club. Scott Wine, the winner of the 1992 Brownlow medal. Lee Williams. James Hurd and Michael Bob. Robert Harvey from St Kilda. Tane Crawford. Shane White. Jason Ackerman. Simon Black. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a three-way tie for the Brownlow medal.
Chris Judd, the 2004 Brownlow medalist.
Welcome back, and there's Freddie Goldsmith, who won it 50 years ago at 73 years of age, the great Swan. Kevin Bulldog Murray in 1969. Barry ran another Swan, having a crownie there. Good on you, Barry. Ross Glendenning won it in 1983, the Kangaroos. These two shared it together, two tough nuts. They're still at it. Diesel Williams and Bertie Di Domenico. Then it was the Rat, Johnny Platten, for the Hawks in 87 with Tony Lockett. Jim Steins, what a story. And, well, you never know. Ty Kennelly might do it on Saturday. And Graham Teasdale was the best-dressed player in the history of the Brownlow back in 1977. As we welcome this man, triple Brownlow medalist Bob Skilton in 59, 63 and 68. Good on you, Chip. Bobby Skilton. One of the greats. The Swans, a record 13 Brownlow medals. And let's hope for Bobby Skilton's sake they have a great game on Saturday. Matthew Pavlich, as we go into round 13, kicks 21 goals in 4 weeks. We believe Cousins will hit the front in the next 2 rounds.
Records were tumbling at Amy Stadium, Port Adelaide registering its highest score and biggest winning margin. Treadray featured heavily with 7 goals, while Pickett good at 4. But it was Dew's solo effort the highlight of the night.
Dew gets around, snaps and goal. A wonderful goal.
The top of the table clash only confirmed how good the Eagles were. Matera got them going with 4 goals in the opening term, while Embley was outstanding across the middle. Richmond lost its 4th in a row after Adelaide dished out a 70-point drubbing. Reaping the rewards from a dominant midfield, Welsh kicked 8. The low-key superstar Scott West continued his great year, helping the Bulldogs lead at every change to defeat Carlton. From low-key to a man with a very large key ring. And in one of the finest individual performances of the season, Ackermanis took centre stage at the Gabba.
No way! He can't top himself. Oh, hush my mouth.
His Brownlow odds went from 300 to 1 into 30s on the back of this awesome display. The Dockers slide continued as the Kangaroos finished the stronger at Subi. St Kilda was knocked out of the top 8 after Essendon proved too good down the stretch. And Nathan Buckley was simply stunning in his long-awaited return. The skipper almost lifted his side to a victory, but time expired slightly prematurely. While that was reviewed over the next few days, so too was Hall's clash with David Fanning. The Swan free to play the following week.
Round 13, Essendon versus St Kilda. St Kilda, N. Revolt, 1 vote. Essendon, J. Hurd, 2 votes. Essendon, J. Murphy, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Hawthorn. Port Adelaide, P. Burgoyne, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, S. Burgoyne, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, W. Treadray, 3 votes. Richmond versus Adelaide. Adelaide, S. Thompson, 1 vote. Adelaide, I. Perry, 2 votes. Adelaide, S. Welsh, 3 votes. Sydney versus Collingwood. Sydney, L. Barry, 1 vote. Sydney, B. Kirk, 2 votes. Collingwood, S. Burns, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Kangaroos. Kangaroos, A. Simpson, 1 vote. Kangaroos, D. Harris, 2 votes. Kangaroos, J. Sinclair, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Geelong. Brisbane, D. Merritt, 1 vote. Brisbane, J. Adcock, 2 votes. Brisbane, J. Ackermanis, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Carlton. Western Bulldogs. D. Cross, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs. N. Eagleton, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs. S. West, 3 votes. Melbourne versus West Coast. West Coast. P. Matera, 1 vote. West Coast. D. Kerr, 2 votes. West Coast. A. Embley, 3 votes.
After taking 13 rounds to break into the top 8, Port Adelaide bounced straight back out after Collingwood took the points. Richmond ended its string of losses, holding off a fast-finishing Sydney. The Tigers scored just 1 point in the final term, and that was the difference at the end. A second-half avalanche from the Eagles saw them demolish Carlton. The trio of Judd, Cousins and Fletcher could all add to their tallies. The big guns were firing for the Kangaroos, with Thompson, Hale and Harding too much for the Bombers to handle. Brisbane's rapid rise had them back in the top half, thanks to a big win over Melbourne. Bradshaw booted 9, while the hot form of Ackermanis continued with 5 straight.
From 55, he punches the air already. He knows it's home.
Down for the count, a Pavlich-inspired comeback nearly saw the Dockers pinch a win from Adelaide. Pavlich a career-high 8 goals, 7 of them in the second half. Geelong had little trouble seeing off Hawthorn. Cam Mooney worked hard across half-back, while Ling again saw more of the ball than anyone on the park. St Kilda's win over the Bulldogs came at a cost, and a big one at that. Revolt re-injuring his shoulder, Harvey again the victim of a hamstring curse, while Gehrig would be forced to play out the season with an injured hand. However, good news came in the form of Justin Kosecki's magnificent return.
Round 14. Geelong versus Hawthorn. Geelong. J. Corey, 1 vote. Geelong. K. Kingsley, 2 votes. Geelong. C. Ling, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide. K. Corns, 1 vote. Collingwood. P. Lacuria, 2 votes. Collingwood. S. O'Brien, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Fremantle. Fremantle. H. Black, 1 vote. Adelaide. T. Edwards, 2 votes. Fremantle. M. Pavlich, 3 votes. Richmond versus Sydney. Richmond. D. Gaspar, 1 vote. Richmond. W. Campbell, 2 votes. Richmond. K. Johnson, 3 votes. Essendon versus Kangaroos. Kangaroos. T. Makepeace, 1 vote. Kangaroos. B. Harvey, 2 votes. Kangaroos. N. Thompson, 3 votes. Melbourne versus Brisbane. Brisbane. M. Voss, 1 vote. Brisbane. D. Bradshaw, 2 votes. Brisbane. J. Ackermanis, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus St Kilda. St Kilda. L. Ball, 1 vote. St Kilda. J. Kosecki, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs. A. Cooney, 3 votes. West Coast versus Carlton. West Coast. D. Wirrapunda, 1 vote. West Coast. C. Judd, 2 votes. West Coast. D. Cox, 3 votes.
Oh, there you go, Andrew Demetrio getting the pressure applied there. Well, we thought that Cousins might hit the front. He didn't get anything at all in those 2 rounds of votes, but his teammate did. Daniel Kerr is out to a 2-vote lead after 14 rounds in the Brownlow Medal of 2005. 15 votes to Daniel Kerr. Ben Cousins still has votes to come, according to us, but we missed out on the last round, has 13 votes. Jude Bolton, who's not even at the function in Sydney, is on 12 votes. Chris Judd, another Eagle. Look at that, the 3 Eagles right up there on 11 votes. And Jason Ackermanis on 11 votes. As we hit the page, get set for Matthew Pavlich to make a big run over the next few rounds of voting. Warren Treadray on 11, Peter Everett on 11, Nick Del Santo 11, and Cameron Ling on 10. Pav, I wouldn't worry about footy show screamers, mate. The votes are all here tonight. But there's our leader at the moment, Daniel Kerr of the West Coast Eagles. Give us a smile there, Daniel. You're looking fantastic on top of the leaderboard at the moment, getting ready for a grand final. We'll take a break. When we come back, we cross live and exclusively to speak to Barry Hall at the Sydney Swans on the Brownlow Medal 2005.
He started playing junior football when he was 8, but he was always kicking the footy around the yard, even as a toddler. I'd come up here for a visit, and before I got to the front door, Barry would come up to me and say, Ted, you want to come and have a kick of footy? And if I didn't go straight away, he'd just pester the living daylights out of me until I went and had a kick with him.
He was a born leader. You could see that on the field, and even off the ground, he used to look after his mates, and he used to take control and try and direct them in the right way.
He was a typical cheeky boy that just loved footy, whether it was 40 degrees, summertime, he'd always be kicking the footy around.
In the under-10s, he kicked 100 goals for the season back in 1987 as an on-baller.
I think people got the wrong impression of Barry. They knew him only as Big Bad Barry out on the footy field, but you get the guy off the footy field and completely different.
I made a statement on the presentation night. I said if this young bloke, Barry Hall, didn't make it to AFL, I'd bear me backside in the middle of Broadford, but he made it, so I didn't have to do it, thank God.
Welcome back to the Brownlow Medal of 2005. In the next 6 rounds of voting, Barry Hall kicks 27 goals at an average of 4.5 a week. That's the Brownlow Medal. But the next 24 hours of the most drama that Barry Hall has ever had in his career. The Sydney Swans captain joins Dwayne Russell live in Sydney from the CUB headquarters.
Thanks, Eddie. There's been a bit of criticism of the Swans' ugly style this year, but there's no ugly style here tonight, I must say. They're looking very pretty, and the ladies are looking magnificent as well. Barry, how did you feel when it got handed down, the penalty today?
Yeah, obviously heard the penalty today about lunchtime. Wasn't news we wanted to hear, but look, as far as we're concerned, preparing for Saturday is normal, and that's out of our control at this stage.
Will you go down to Melbourne tomorrow?
We haven't discussed that yet. We'll discuss that in the morning and, yeah, see where we go from there.
What does it mean to you to play in a grand final?
Well, we played in '97 grand final, and look, as a young bloke, you think it's going to happen again. You know, we had a good side at St Kilda, and unfortunately never did. But so to be 28 now, and I was 19 at that stage, to play in a grand final is pretty special. They're pretty hard to come by.
And you've got some support down in Melbourne too. I saw Spider holding up a sign.
Yeah, I've got to say a big cheerio to Spider and Cherie down there that made a sign for me, and he rang me before we went to air and said he was going to do it. So thanks, mate. Good on you.
That was the free Barry Hall sign if you didn't see it. Jude Bolton, there's a chance to win the medal tonight, and he's not here. Do you know where he lives? We might have to go round there.
He only lives 5 minutes away, so we might have to knock on his door a little bit later if he gets a few more votes. But look, he snuck up on everyone, and hopefully he can get a few more votes.
And what about your voting tonight?
Yeah, I'm flying, aren't I? It's something you can't predict, I suppose, and look, we just want you to get them all now, so...
You can't even get a free kick. How are you going to get a vote? I won't ask you to answer that. Eddie, there's no doubt whatsoever that Barry's penalty today has taken a bit of the flavour out of the room tonight, and it might do likewise on Saturday if he doesn't get off tomorrow night. Back to you.
Good on you, Dwayne, and thanks to Barry Hall for joining us tonight. We really appreciate Barry giving of his time in the difficult circumstances and we wish him all the best at the Tribunal tomorrow and the Sydney Swans at the MCG on Saturday against the West Coast Eagles. Back to the Brownlow round 15 action now. Look out for Barry Hall, Cousins and Pavlich.
The Kangaroos' march towards the top four was halted when the top of the table Eagles came to town. Matera a constant danger around goal. The comfortable 5-goal lead at the last change sparked Brett Harvey into action.
Harvey's kicked 2 for the turn. He's kicked 3.
The Roos had their chances to steal victory, but not the luck. Melbourne's mid-season slump continued when Port dished out a 10-goal thumping. The Corns boys great along with Dew and 5-goaler Treadray. Richardson was making a point at the MCG as the Tigers proved too good for Essendon. Around the ground, both Campbell and Tuck led the majority of attacks. Brisbane's resurgence this time had Collingwood down for the count. The Lions' 5th straight win, another percentage booster. Adelaide turned a half-time deficit into a 6-goal lead at the following break. Goodwin, McGregor and Burton likely to feature in the votes. Sydney kept its season on track with a 9-goal second quarter against Geelong. Hall terrific with 5 goals, while acting captain Goods, the main architect in a 54-point victory. Captaincy was also agreeing with Justin Kosetsky as the Saints crushed the Blues. And the Dockers snapped their 4-game losing streak. Pavlich and McFarlane, 9 goals between them, while for the Dogs, West was magnificent again.
Round 15. Port Adelaide versus Melbourne. Port Adelaide, P. Burgoyne, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, K. Corns, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, S. Dew, 3 votes. Richmond versus Essendon. Essendon, S. Lucas, 1 vote. Richmond, A. Cracker, 2 votes. Richmond, M. Coughlin, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Collingwood. Brisbane, L. Power, 1 vote. Brisbane, C. Johnson, 2 votes. Brisbane, D. Merritt, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Adelaide. Adelaide, B. Burton, 1 vote. Adelaide, A. McLeod, 2 votes. Adelaide, K. McGregor, 3 votes. Sydney versus Geelong. Sydney, A. Goods, 1 vote. Sydney, B. Hall, 2 votes. Sydney, R. O'Keefe, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 1 vote. Fremantle, D. Headland, 2 votes. Fremantle, T. Cook, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Carlton. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. St Kilda, L. Hayes, 2 votes. St Kilda, J. Kosetsky, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus West Coast. West Coast, B. Cousins, 1 vote. Kangaroos, A. Simpson, 2 votes. West Coast, D. Wirrapunda, 3 votes.
A 13-goal haul from Lloyd and Lucas saw Essendon swap positions on the ladder with Collingwood. Wuthering Heights weather at Geelong didn't increase Port Adelaide's hopes of turning their season around. Bartell, the leading cat in almost every stat column, in his side's big 79-point win. The Saints' march towards September continued with a similar victory over Richmond. Kosetsky's 5 goals, another standout performance from the acting captain. Archer and Harvey proved another match-winning duo as the Roos jumped to 5th on the ladder at the expense of Hawthorn. 2 things were evident after West Coast defeated Brisbane. The Eagles seemed a class above the rest, and Cousins became the hottest Brownlow favourite for many seasons. Cox's clean record may have saved him from suspension, but the original charge ruled him out of medal contention, while fellow ruckman Gardner could only accept a 2-match penalty. There were also others coming into Brownlow calculations. Barry Hall with 7 straight against Melbourne. Pavlich all class again with 9 straight against the Blues.
Here's number 8 on its way. You better believe it.
While across in Adelaide, Rashuda was again the general in the Crows midfield.
That's as good as it gets.
Round 16. Melbourne versus Sydney. Sydney. A. Goods, 1 vote. Sydney. B. Hall, 2 votes. Sydney. B. Kirk, 3 votes. Richmond versus St Kilda. St Kilda. N. Del Santo, 1 vote. St Kilda. L. Hayes, 2 votes. St Kilda. J. Kazitsky, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Essendon. Essendon. B. Stanton, 1 vote. Essendon. M. Lloyd, 2 votes. Collingwood. N. Buckley, 3 votes. Geelong versus Port Adelaide. Geelong. K. Kingsley, 1 vote. Geelong. J. Corey, 2 votes. Geelong. J. Bartel, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Kangaroos. Kangaroos. G. Archer, 1 vote. Kangaroos. A. Simpson, 2 votes. Kangaroos. D. Harris, 3 votes. Carlton versus Fremantle. Carlton. A. Koutafidis, 1 vote. Fremantle. J. Carr, 2 votes. Fremantle. M. Pavlich, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Western Bulldogs. Adelaide. A. McLeod, 1 vote. Adelaide. M. Risciuto, 2 votes. Adelaide. T. Edwards, 3 votes. West Coast versus Brisbane. West Coast. M. Braun, 1 vote. West Coast. C. Judd, 2 votes. West Coast. B. Cousins, 3 votes.
So there we go. After 16 rounds of votes, the favourite for the Brownlow medal coming into tonight's count has finally hit the front. Ben Cousins, the captain of the West Coast Eagles, leads his teammate Daniel Kerr by 2 votes. Matthew Pavlich, who we believe has still got votes to come, is on 14. The West Australians, look at that, dominating. Chris Judd on 13, ineligible. Don't forget Tyson Edwards, because the Adelaide Crows finish off the season magnificently. Then we go to Nick Del Santo, a Victorian club, finally getting a mention on 12 votes. Then it's back to the non-Victorians, Jude Bolton on 12, Luke Power on 11, Jason Ackermanis on 11, Warren Treadray on 11, Peter Everett on 11 for the Hawthorn Football Club, Coghlan 10, Ling 10, Bartel of Geelong on 9, and Scott West on 9. Let's go to Dermot and Gary now. Boys, is there any form in the run home as we turn to the home stretch?
Well, he's hit the front, Ben Cousins' head, but it's not over by a long shot. We reckon he's got one more big voting game still to come, and that's in round 18. Let's not forget the Eagles lost 3 of their last 4 games, so 17 votes. Might see 20 might see him out, so he's still there, and there's a couple that might be able to chase him down, Doom.
Well, Daniel Kerr, his teammate being one of them, Gary, he has polled in 4 games that were unexpected, but it could come down to round 20 when Cousins has 23 possessions in that their last win of the season, and Daniel Kerr has 34. Thereafter, you have a look at Matty Pavlich polling well tonight. Was hurt by round 15, 9 marks, 4 goals. Plenty of the footy did not poll there, but Freo, they win 4 of their last 6 games.
Tyson Edwards, the other one who's there. He's got a big finish of the season. He's got 12 votes. Simon Goodwin, one of the favourites early, just 3 votes to this stage.
OK, and Matthew Pavlich in 5 games has had 4 best on grounds and 1 second best on ground. He certainly gets the votes us when the umpires notice him. We're going to take a break. As I said, we're turning for home in the Brownlow Medal of 2005, and it is a wide open race. Back after this.
Look at us, we're beautiful. All the people push and pull, but they'll never get inside. We got too much to hide. Look at us, we're beautiful. 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 Yeah. Look at us, we're beautiful. Yeah. Look at us,
Welcome back. 5 rounds to go in the 2005 Brownlow Medal, brought to you by Toyota. Let's have a look at the highlights of round 17.
With 6 rounds to go, the Saints were timing their run to September. Against Collingwood, Kosicki, Ball and Milne could trifecta the votes. Bringing up the tail, Hawthorn took the points over Carlton. Everett 20 hit-outs and 20 disposals. Williams booted 5, while Hodge was again in the thick of it for the Hawks. The Cats were caught napping as the Bulldogs' mix of youth and experience got them over the line. Griffin, Eagleton and Murphy named in the best. The Lions took 4 quarters to shake off the Bombers. Never venturing much further than the goal square, Brown was productive with 5 goals and young Corrie 4 in his side's 13-point victory. The winning margin was the same at Amy Stadium as Port proved too strong for the Tigers.
Sean Burgoyne puts them back in front.
The Burgoyne and Corns brothers may have split the votes. In Sydney, front-runners West Coast suffered its 2nd loss of the season. The hard-running Swans, including Kirk, Bolton and Kennelly, propelling Sydney into 3rd place. Adelaide remained a game clear in 2nd after surviving a customary late charge from the Kangaroos.
Have a look at this. Welsh can come in and kick goal number 6.
Risciuto and Welsh expected to battle it out for best of field honours. While the Dockers were putting their season back on track, the Demons were falling off the pace. McFarlane and Pavlich combined to kick 7 goals, while Black was the leading possession getter in a dominant midfield setup.
Pavlich clever, lays it down beautifully.
Round 17. Western Bulldogs versus Geelong. Western Bulldogs. R. Griffin, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs. S. West, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs. N. Eagleton, 3 votes. Hawthorn, Carlton. Hawthorn, M. Williams, 1 vote. Hawthorn, J. Smith, 2 votes. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Richmond. Port Adelaide, A. Kingsley, 1 vote. Richmond, C. Hyde, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, J. Franku, 3 votes. Brisbane Lions versus Essendon. Essendon, B. Stanton, 1 vote. Brisbane Lions, J. Brown, 2 votes. Brisbane Lions, S. Black, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Melbourne. Fremantle, H. Black, 1 vote. Fremantle, P. Bell, 2 votes. Fremantle, B. Shammer, 3 votes. Collingwood versus St Kilda. St Kilda, L. Ball, 1 vote. St Kilda, B. Guerra, 2 votes. St Kilda, J. Kosicki, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Adelaide. Kangaroos, B. Harvey, 1 vote. Adelaide, T. Edwards, 2 votes. Adelaide, M. Risciuto, 3 votes. Sydney Swans versus West Coast Eagles. West Coast, D. Kerr, 1 vote. Sydney B. Kirk, 2 votes. Sydney T. Kennelly, 3 votes.
The Cats' chances of September glory took another hit after the Bombers stormed from behind. Scott Lucas the catalyst with 4 goals in the 3rd term. The Saints were suddenly playing looser than the wheels on the Melbourne bandwagon, winning a fiery encounter at the G. St Kilda finished with 27 goals, 7 to Geary. Del Santo and Hayes the top possession getters. Although alarmingly inaccurate, the Eagles had few troubles disposing of Hawthorn. Kerr, Cousins and Judd a trio of class, while it was pretty much a solo effort from Luke Hodge. Adelaide looked to have a hold on second spot. They managed only 8 goals, but limited the Swans to just 6. The Bulldogs notched up another win over Brisbane. Brad Johnson all smiles with 5 goals straight. Another miraculous comeback from the Kangaroos saw them keep the power out of the 8. Corey Jones, the leading forward with 5 goals, but the one from Makepeace, the clincher.
He might go all the way. Loads up from 50. It's a long bomb. Home!
Carlton recorded just its 3rd win of the season, downing a disappointing Richmond. Kudafiti's dominant with 30-plus possessions, while Stevens cleaned up with 4 goals. The Dockers snuck into the 8 after beating the Pies at the G. Josh Carr, Bell and Pavlich likely to split the votes.
Round 18, Melbourne versus St Kilda. St Kilda, F. Gehrig, 1 vote. St Kilda, L. Hayes, 2 votes. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 3 votes. Essendon versus Geelong. Geelong, J. Corey, 1 vote. Essendon, D. Fletcher, 2 votes. Essendon, S. Lucas, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Port Adelaide. Kangaroos, L. Colbert, 1 vote. Kangaroos, D. Harris, 2 votes. Kangaroos, C. Jones, 3 votes. Carlton versus Richmond. Carlton, H. Scotland, 1 vote. Carlton, A. Kudafidis, 2 votes. Carlton, N. Stevens, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Sydney. Adelaide, N. Bock, 1 vote. Adelaide, T. Edwards, 2 votes. Sydney, A. Goods, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Fremantle. Fremantle, A. Sandilands, 1 vote. Collingwood, N. Buckley, 2 votes. Fremantle, J. Carr, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Brisbane Lions. Brisbane, N. Lappin, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, A. Cooney, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, B. Johnson, 3 votes. West Coast versus Hawthorn. Hawthorn, Al Hodge, 1 vote. West Coast, D. Cox, 2 votes. West Coast, B. Cousins, 3 votes.
So there we are after 18 rounds of voting. Ben Cousins, the captain of the West Coast Eagles, kicks clear to a 4-vote lead with 4 rounds to go. But by our reckoning, that's it for Ben Cousins in the votes. The Eagles win one more game for the season. Tyson Edwards on 16. The Crows win the last 4. Daniel Kerr on 16 votes, plays a blinder in one of these games on the run home. Nick Del Santo, well, the Saints have 3 wins to come. Matthew Pavlich on 14 votes. As we flip the page, Luke Hodge averages 35 disposals in the next 2 games. Jude Bolton on 12, Judd and Rashuda out of business, and Justin Kazitsky for St Kilda on 11 votes. Jonathan Brown on 11. Scott West plays his best football in the last month of the season on 11 votes. Luke Power on 11, Jason Ackermanis 11, and Warren Treadray. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break. We'll come back with 4 rounds of voting to go. It is wide open in the Brownlow Medal of 2005 for Toyota from the Crown Palladium Room.
As a young boy growing up, he just had a great love of sport, basically, and whatever was on, he wanted to be in it. And as, I suppose, the years developed, footy became, the sport that he really wanted to have a crack at.
Small in stature, but big in heart. And that was most probably the key thing in Ben in his football career. There were games that he won off his own boot, and again, it would be that sense of determination and focus of getting the ball.
In his juniors, he rarely won a fairest and best, but I would say that he will always finish in the top 2 or 3. But he was always one of the better players in the side. But I wouldn't have said a real standout.
Ben was a character. He had a personality. I think he enjoyed a chat in class. There used to be times, I think, from one classroom where he'd mostly be asked to go and breathe in some fresh air outside at different times.
As a family growing up, obviously, because I played with Geelong, and at that stage the Eagles weren't in the AFL, so we were very clearly established as Geelong supporters in the VFL. But obviously when Ben went and joined the Eagles, we followed over, and now, they're our, the whole family support the Eagles very strongly.
His father and former Geelong star Brian Cousins said Ben Cousins finished often in the top 2 or 3 in the best and fairest. Well, tonight it looks like he's going to finish in the top couple in the Brownlow medal. He's still a big chance to win it too. We find Ben Cousins sitting next to Dennis Committee over at the Burswood Entertainment Complex. Dennis?
Well, I suppose, Ben, what do we say from here? A few surprises thus far. What's left in the tank?
Well, we've, I think, lose 3 out of our last 4 games, but it's a lot, there's a lot of footy left. I guess Daniel Kerr plays well in a couple of games, and I'm sure Adelaide finish very strongly, so Tyson Edwards is a big hope.
Looking at the Brownlow, you've had 5 top 10 finishes. How do you approach a night like tonight? Do you come optimistic or pessimistic?
Oh, I think it's a night you don't come with too much expectation. I think regardless of the season you have, you need a fair bit of luck, and I'm sure the bloke that walks away with it tonight will attest to that.
You were 16 when the Eagles won their last premiership. Can you do it again?
Oh, I think so. You've got to be in it to win it, and certainly we have a belief amongst the group that we're good enough if we play our best.
Plenty of energy in this room. Fingers crossed. Good luck for the remainder of the count. Ed, back to you in Melbourne.
Thanks very much, Dennis. It's Ben Cousins, the man out in front, with 20 votes from Tyson Edwards on 16 and Daniel Kerr on 16. Here comes round 19 of votes.
Round 19 saw Aaron Hamill back to his brilliant best. His inspirational performance, a big factor in the Saints' 6th straight victory. Adelaide netted 7 in a row, while Melbourne's losing streak hit 7. Goodwin, 16 kicks, 14 handballs, and a couple of goals. The Bulldogs' rapid rise continued with a comfortable win over flag favourites West Coast. Just another day at the office for Scott West with 32 disposals. Gilby dashing out of defence, while Grant slotted through 6 straight. At Subi, Fremantle took the points over Richmond. Pavlich with 4 goals, but Sandilands, Hazelby and Bell may take votes away. Barry Hall was coming further into Brownlow calculations with another bag of goals. 7 straight, ensuring the win over the Bombers. As expected, Brisbane defeated Hawthorn at the Gabba, while Port Adelaide proved too strong for Carlton. While in a thriller at the Dome, the Roos pulled off yet another great escape. With a little over 3 minutes remaining, the Pies led by 3 goals.
They need a score with 13 seconds left. It is going.
Brent Harvey had every reason to be excited. His afternoon produced 30-plus touches and a couple of goals.
Round 19, Brisbane versus Hawthorn. Brisbane, M. Voss, 1 vote. Hawthorn, L. Hodge, 2 votes. Brisbane, L. Power, 3 votes. Essendon versus Sydney. Essendon, B. Stanton, 1 vote. Sydney, R. O'Keefe, 2 votes. Sydney, B. Hall, 3 votes. Carlton versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, M. Wilson, 1 vote. Carlton, J. Waite, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, P. Burgoyne, 3 votes. Collingwood versus Kangaroos. Collingwood, J. Cloak, 1 vote. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 2 votes. Kangaroos, B. Harvey, 3 votes. Fremantle versus Richmond. Richmond, K. Johnson, 1 vote. Fremantle, P. Bell, 2 votes. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Melbourne. Adelaide, S. Thompson, 1 vote. Adelaide, M. Matner, 2 votes. Adelaide, S. Goodwin, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast Eagles. Western Bulldogs, C. Grant, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, N. Eagleton, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, L. Gilby, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Geelong. Geelong, M. Scarlett, 1 vote. St Kilda, St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 2 votes. St Kilda, A. Hamill, 3 votes.
With just 3 rounds to go, the Eagles hit winning form again, outpointing the Dockers by 48 points. The likes of Kerr, Judd, Braun and Cousins gave the impression the minor premiership was theirs. Pavlich, the best for the Dockers, with 3 goals, while, as expected, Judd's report for rough conduct was later dismissed. The Saints met at 7 wins in a row when they led at every change to defeat the Kangaroos. It was Heritage Round and vintage Robert Harvey. Luke Ball just slightly behind in terms of possessions. The debut of Nathan Ablett had the whole town of Geelong in a buzz.
What a special moment!
After trailing by as much as 34 points, Russell Robertson and the Demons suddenly found Keith Richard-like resilience.
Melbourne are in front!
Robbo finished with 7 as Melbourne held on to win by the slimmest of margins.
It's offline! Melbourne have won!
Carlton easily accounted for Collingwood, with young Adam Bentic rising to the occasion. The showdown raised the possibility of a minor premiership for the Crows and kept the power out of the 8. Goodwin and Rashudo, the leading lights, igniting a club record 8 in a row. The Swans were travelling nicely, but a 14-goal victory over the Lions would have been a pleasant surprise. Hall's 15 marks and 6 goals had the bookmakers quickly reframing the Brownlow market. Hawthorn's win over Essendon kept the wooden spoon with the Blues, while Richmond became the Bulldogs' latest scalp. Cross continued his stellar season, while it was business as usual for Johnson, Murphy and West.
Round 20. Collingwood versus Carlton. Carlton, Al Whitnell, 1 vote. Carlton, N. Stevens, 2 votes. Carlton A. Bentinck, 3 votes. Geelong versus Melbourne. Melbourne R. Robertson, 1 vote. Melbourne T. Johnston, 2 votes. Geelong C. Ling, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. Adelaide S. Thompson, 1 vote. Port Adelaide S. Burgoyne, 2 votes. Adelaide S. Goodwin, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Essendon. Hawthorn D. Jacobs, 1 vote. Hawthorn S. Crawford, 2 votes. Hawthorn T. Crode, 3 votes. Richmond versus Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs D. Cross, 1 vote. Richmond K. Johnson, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs B. Johnson, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus St Kilda. St Kilda S. Baker, 1 vote. St Kilda L. Ball, 2 votes. St Kilda R. Harvey, 3 votes. Sydney versus Brisbane. Sydney C. Bolton, 1 vote. Sydney R. O'Keefe, 2 votes. Sydney B. Hall, 3 votes. West Coast versus Fremantle. West Coast M. Braun, 1 vote. West Coast C. Judd, 2 votes. West Coast D. Kerr, 3 votes. You like that one, Jill?
Well, there we go. After 20 rounds of voting, well, not since 1926 has there been a Quinella from the same team in the Brownlow medal, but at the moment it's Ben Cousins on 20 votes, Daniel Kerr on 19. Nick Del Santo can still win the Brownlow medal on 17 votes, as can Tyson Edwards on 16. Chris Judd's got 15. He can't win it because he's ineligible. Luke Hodge continues his fantastic season and is still a chance, while Luke Power and Matthew Pavlich can tie for the Brownlow medal. Barry Hall and Cameron Ling on 13 votes. But as I said, not since Ivor Warne-Smith for the Melbourne Football Club and Robert Johnson in 1926 has there been a Quinella with teammates in the Brownlow medal. We'll take a break in a few moments' time. Before we do, though, let's go across to Dermot and Gary to get the last form for the last 2 rounds of the Brownlow of 2005. Boys.
Well, Ed, it's who's going to catch Ben Cousins. We reckon there's a couple. We don't think Ben Cousins is going to poll any votes in the last 2 rounds. He had 16 possessions in a losing game, round 21 at Geelong. Round 22, they lost to Adelaide. He had 25 possessions and played okay. Cameron Ling fixed him up down there at Skills Stadium. Wasn't a great day for the Eagles. This is the one that we've got a little bit of a query over. They lost to Adelaide. He had 25 possessions, took 7 marks, spent a lot of the time on the ground. But Tyson Edwards is the other one that's still a bit of a roughie. He's got 2 big games. They had big wins Adelaide. He had 28 possessions in round 21 and 30 in round 22, so he's still in with a chance.
And Daniel Kerr, can he pull a couple of votes back in that round 22 loss as well? Nick Del Santo, 27 possessions. There's Daniel Kerr on your screen now, the card there. And round 2022, the loss to Adelaide. Can he pull a vote there to tie with Benny Cousins? 25 possessions also in a loss. Nick Del Santo, he's running third, 3 votes behind. Now in round 22, he picks up 27 possessions in a massive win over Brisbane, but will Stevie Milne's 11 goals pinch 3 votes off him?
And Luke Hodge, I guess, is the other one. Doom, 15 votes, 26 and 24 disposals in the last 2 games of the year. The Hawks lose both. We're not quite sure whether he's going to get enough votes there, Ed.
OK, boys, well, before we take the break, Tyson Edwards has emerged as the sleeper tonight. He is currently just 4 votes off the lead. And Tyson, we know that the Adelaide Crows had a wonderful end to the season. How did you go in the last 2 rounds?
Yeah, not too bad. I think the last game I went all right, but not too sure about the other one.
All right, how are you feeling at the moment?
Nah, I think I'm pretty comfortable here. I don't think much is going to happen for me, mate.
Is Mark Rasciuto giving you any words of advice? Because he tied 2 years ago with Adam Goods and Nathan Buckley from this position.
Yeah, no, he's just trying to get the drinks in me, Rui, so no, we're under control here.
All right, Tyson, we'll keep it cool, calm and collected over there, mate, because the rest of us are getting all revved up. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll announce the Brownlow medalist of 2005. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The last 2 rounds of the 2005 season. Let's check the leaderboard going into those last rounds. Ben Cousins is the leader at the moment on 20 votes from his teammate Daniel Kerr on 19, Nick Del Santo on 17, Tyson Edwards on 16, Chris Judd 15 ineligible, Luke Hodge 15, Luke Power and Matthew Pavlich on 14. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The highlights of round 21.
The Dockers' finals aspirations were kept alive after a thrilling win over St Kilda. Hazelby picked up 31 possessions, while Pavlich and McFarlane each booted 4. But no doubt the hero of the night was Justin Longmuir, becoming the 31st player in AFL history to kick a winning goal after the siren, as the Dockers wore their emotions like a designer label. The Crows showed percentage-friendly Collingwood no mercy at Amy Stadium. The 110-point demolition included 5 goals from Henschel, while Thompson could also have caught the umpire's eyes. Geelong arrested its slide, while the Eagles' dominance was being questioned for the first time. With 4 goals, it'll be interesting to see if Nathan Ablett polls his first Brownlow votes, but it won't come as a surprise if Steve Johnson and Cameron Ling add to their tallies. A win over Brisbane was still not enough to lift the Power into the top half. Brothers Corns both collected 26 possessions. Melbourne and the Bulldogs staged a thriller at the MCG. Robertson was again on fire, on his way to a bag of 6, with West again the Dogs' go-to man. With about 6.5 minutes remaining, the Bulldogs led by 22 points.
Game on at the MCG, so much at stake.
Now within striking distance, a free kick to Jeff White gave them the chance to snatch victory.
Puts the Demons in front.
Against the Roos, Nick Davis got the Swans on their way with 4 majors before half-time. Kirk and Kennelly also big contributors in the comfortable win. Carlton's grip on the wooden spoon only tightened after Essendon handed out a 99-point thrashing. The Johnson boys both may collect votes, along with skipper James Hird. And it was only fitting the round concluded the way it started. This time Richmond coming from behind to clinch a thrilling victory.
Tigers in front.
Round 21. Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. Melbourne, Jay White, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, A. Cooney, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 3 votes. Brisbane versus Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, K. Corns, 1 vote. Brisbane, M. Voss, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, S. Burgoyne, 3 votes. Essendon versus Carlton. Essendon, M. Lloyd, 1 vote. Essendon, M. Johnson, 2 votes. Essendon, J. Hurd, 3 votes. Richmond versus Hawthorn. Richmond, R. Hall, 1 vote. Hawthorn, P. Everett, 2 votes. Richmond, S. Tuck, 3 votes. Sydney versus Kangaroos. Sydney, J. Bolton, 1 vote. Sydney, A. Goods, 2 votes. Sydney, T. Kennelly, 3 votes. Adelaide versus Collingwood. Adelaide, T. Henschel, 1 vote. Adelaide, S. Thompson, 2 votes. Adelaide, B. Burton, 3 votes. Geelong versus West Coast. Geelong, C. Mooney, 1 vote. Geelong, M. Scarlett, 2 votes. Geelong, J. Rook, 3 votes. Fremantle versus St Kilda. St Kilda, Al Montagna, 1 vote. St Kilda, R. Harvey, 2 votes. Fremantle, P. Hazelby, 3 votes.
Needing a win and a couple of other results to go their way to make the finals, the Bulldogs ticked the first box with victory over Collingwood. The Dogs opened with a blistering 9-goal first term, and as usual, Scott West was in the thick of the action.
An inconspicuous superstar.
Robbins and Johnson kicked 11 between them as the Bulldogs ran out winners by 41 points. As expected, the Swans easily accounted for Hawthorn. Barry Hall again the star for Sydney. Big Barry finishing the day with 3, but was instrumental in at least 6 others. For Hawthorn, it was Hodge in the best and in the umpire's book. The match review panel would later clear the Hawk. At Subiaco, the Crows jumped the Eagles to finish the season on top of the ladder. However, it wasn't all good news with the report of Mark Rasciuto, the skipper agreeing to a 1-week suspension. For the Eagles, Cousins collected 25 possessions in his side's 8-point defeat. A big second half from Port Adelaide knocked Fremantle out of the finals race. Cassisi in the best with 4 goals, while at the other end, Pavlich didn't bother the scorers. However, Stephen Milne kept them busy, booting 11 in St Kilda's record 139-point demolition of Brisbane. Revolt kicked 6, while Luke Ball was the leading possession getter. To the final day, and Geelong hosted Richmond.
It off the deck, rolls it towards goal.
That's the goal of the season.
Trailing for most of the day, the Tigers had one last lunge at the Cats.
He's got a goal.
Geelong held on to win by 1 point. Richmond's gallant season and a champion's career coming to a close. Up at the Dome, the Kangaroos, playing for a home final, had to wait until after half-time to stamp their authority on the contest against the Blues. Harvey, Grant and Wells made duel for best on-ground honours. And in a thrilling climax to this season, Melbourne were playing for a spot in the finals. If not successful, the Bulldogs would have happily taken their place. The Bombers made a charge, but the Demons held their nerve to win by 10 points.
Robertson with the snap. Bouncing through. Robertson has kicked
the Demons into the finals. Round 22. Essendon versus Melbourne. Melbourne, T. Johnston, 1 vote. Essendon, J. Johnson, 2 votes. Essendon, B. Stanton, 3 votes. Kangaroos versus Carlton. Kangaroos, S. Rocker, 1 vote. Carlton, N. Stevens, 2 votes. Kangaroos, S. Grant, 3 votes. Geelong versus Richmond. Geelong, J. Kelly, 1 vote. Richmond, B. Deledio, 2 votes. Geelong, J. Corey, 3 votes. Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. Port Adelaide, J. Marnie, 1 vote. Port Adelaide, J. Franku, 2 votes. Port Adelaide, A. Kingsley, 3 votes. Western Bulldogs versus Collingwood. Western Bulldogs, D. Cross, 1 vote. Western Bulldogs, M. Robbins, 2 votes. Western Bulldogs, S. West, 3 votes. Hawthorn versus Sydney. Sydney, Al Ablett, 1 vote. Sydney, B. Kirk, 2 votes. Sydney, B. Hall, 3 votes. St Kilda versus Brisbane. St Kilda, N. Del Santo, 1 vote. St Kilda, N. Revolt, 2 votes. St Kilda, S. Milne, 3 votes. West Coast versus Adelaide. Adelaide, I. Perry, 1 vote. Adelaide, G. Johncock, 2 votes. Adelaide, A. McLeod, 3 votes. The winner of the 2005 Brownlow medal is Ben Cousins, the West Coast Eagles.
And so a magnificent year for Ben Cousins, the captain of the West Coast Eagles, winning the Brownlow medal by 1 vote from his co-midfielder Daniel Kerr on 19 votes, Nick Del Santo on 18 votes. A fantastic effort by the St Kilda star. Scott West again in the top 4 in the Brownlow medal, and Barry Hall and Tyson Edwards and Chris Judd, the other great midfielder there. And last year's Brownlow medalist to present the award to his captain, Ben Cousins, the Brownlow medalist of 2005. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the West Coast Eagles captain, Ben Cousins. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially acknowledge our Brownlow medalist, please welcome the chairman of the AFL Commission, Mr. Ron Evans.
Thank you, Eddie. Ladies and gentlemen, the AFL Commission, along with football followers and supporters throughout Australia, acknowledge and congratulate the 2005 Brownlow medalist, Ben Cousins, from the West Coast Eagles. Now in his 4th year as the West Coast captain, he's a wonderful team leader. Ben Cousins is, of course, talented, more importantly, hard-working, hard-running and tireless. He's a champion midfielder. He was recruited under the father and son rule in the 1995 National Draft. His dad, Brian Cousins, played with East Fremantle and Geelong. Ben Cousins has 3 times won his club's best and fairest, 5 times All-Australian, and his 200-game milestone was achieved this year. Ben Cousins joins Adam Goods and Nathan Buckley, having won the Rising Star Brownlow double. He is the 2nd medalist from his club, West Coast Eagles, following Chris Judd's win last year. Well done to Ben Cousins and the West Coast Eagles Football Club, and also to runner-up and teammate Daniel Kerr. Ladies and gentlemen, could you now be upstanding and toasting our newest Brownlow medalist. To the 2005 AFL Brownlow medalist, Ben Cousins.
Thank you, Ron. And from one side of Australia to the other, ladies and gentlemen, 3 cheers for the 2005 Brownlow medalist, Ben Cousins. Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Hip hip. Hooray! Congratulations, Ben. What a fantastic week, what a fantastic season. Tell us what it was like sitting there with Daniel Kerr peering over your shoulder, 1 vote behind in those last 2 rounds.
Oh, it was, you know, pretty nerve-wracking. It would have been nice to see Kerry get 1 more vote because he did play exceptionally well in the last game. Probably could have been the only thing to make tonight a little bit sweeter, but you just feel very fortunate. You know, I think regardless of the season you have, you do need a fair bit of luck to be standing up here tonight, and, you know, I consider myself very fortunate.
Ben, we said at the start of the night it was Boys Own annual stuff this week, possibly for you. You're the 23rd player to win a Brownlow medal and go into a grand final. You're the 12th who could possibly win a premiership Brownlow medal double, but you'll be the first person since the great Sid Coventry back in 1927 to be the captain, premiership winner and a Brownlow medalist. You've still got a big job ahead of you coming up, but what an opportunity for you.
Yeah, you're right. You know, as special as this is tonight, everything, you know, that's gone into this season and this week is all about this Saturday, and I think tonight will probably bring a bit of enjoyment to, you know, my family and a lot of the people that have helped me get to where I am today. But on a personal note, I hope it doesn't sink in till after the weekend, because it's all about, you know, a grand final and winning a premiership.
Ben, we've heard all year about the awesome midfield of the West Coast Eagles. We saw Daniel Kerr with 19 votes. We saw Chris Judd last year win it, but also this year with 15 votes. That must give you tremendous impetus going into this grand final on the MCG, your teammates.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, the great thing to come out of our season and the home and away season has been our good form, and with that comes a self-belief and confidence to know that when we're on and when we're playing the footy that we know we can, and we're good enough to beat anyone in the competition. We're under no illusions that it's going to be an exceptionally tough game. It's going to be a real contest, but it's one we're looking forward to, and we don't think it's beyond us.
Earlier in the telecast tonight, we saw you as a young boy growing up, following your father, of course, Brian, who played for Geelong and was a star over there in Western Australia. This just must be a wonderful feeling for you to have grown up a football lover as you have, and now be the captain of your club and a Brownlow medalist. You enter the fables of AFL history now.
Yeah, it is a bit surreal. I think, you know, like I said before, I'm probably going to put it in the back of my mind and get on with the job this week, because, you know, I'm preparing and approaching the biggest game in my career. But it's certainly something that I think my family and friends will enjoy this week, and something that I'll look back on with very fond memories.
Well, Ben, an AFL Rising Star in 1996, a 5-time All-Australian, a 3-time Best and Fairest, and now the Brownlow medalist. I'm sure you've got some words you'd like to share with your friends and family.
Yeah, I guess, you know, there's a lot of people that have helped me get to where I am. You know, I consider myself very fortunate to be playing at West Coast. It's a great club, and great clubs don't just happen. They, you know, we're in a position where we've got some exceptional people that run it, probably starting with the CEO, Trevor Nisbet, and the coach, John Worsfold, who have had a huge influence on my career and, you know, go a long way to the club being in the position that it's in this week. I guess my teammates, I've had the pleasure of playing in a very good side this year, and in the position that I play up forward a lot of the time, I'm on the end of a lot of good work that those guys do further up the ground. I guess my girlfriend Samantha, who puts up with a lot and is sensational for me, and I hope she gets as much joy out of tonight as I do, and I think my family. I think I'm the first to admit that I've worked very hard to get where I have tonight, or over my career, but I also understand that I've been given every opportunity to succeed with the opportunities that I've been given growing up. So there's a lot of people that I probably should thank, but there's probably not enough time, but they all know who they are.
Good on you, Ben. Congratulations. We know you've got a big assignment at the MCG on Saturday afternoon against the Sydney Swans. But on behalf of everybody here right around the country on the Nine Network and from the Crown Palladium Ballroom and over there at the Burswood Entertainment Centre, our heartfelt congratulations on a magnificent season. We wish you all the very best for the grand final. Our Brownlow medalist of 2005, Ben Cousins. We salute you, Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break. We'll come back and wrap up a magnificent Brownlow medal count, the 2005 Brownlow medal for Toyota.
I believe. Oh, yeah. I believe.
Yes, once again, congratulations to Ben Cousins, the 2005 Brownlow medalist. Let's have a look at the final standings in the Brownlow of 2005 with Ben Cousins hanging on by 1 vote to defeat Daniel Kerr, whose date, by the way, was Ben Cousins' sister tonight. So some mixed feelings there for Ben Cousins' sister and Daniel Kerr's girlfriend. Nick Del Santo on 18 votes. What a fantastic season. We look forward to seeing more of Nick Del Santo at the Brownlow medal in the future. Scott West again, a 6th top 10 finish in the last 8 years. What a magnificent player. He'll win his 7th best and fairest for the Bulldogs this season. Barry Hall on 16 votes. Of course, a big 24 hours for Barry Hall. We wish him all the luck at the tribunal tomorrow night. Tyson Edwards, a magnificent season for the McClellan winning Adelaide Crows midfielder with 16 votes. Chris Judd again, what a superstar. He gets his chance for a medal on Saturday in the grand final. Luke Hodge showed that he'll be a player of the future with 15 votes and a future captain of the Hawthorn Football Club. Luke Power on 14 votes. Matthew Pavlich, a fantastic year on 14 votes. Jude Bolton will be out there on Saturday. He finished with 13. Spider Everett on 13. Cameron Ling on 13. Paul Hazelby of Fremantle on 12. Adam Cooney of the Western Bulldogs, a star of the future on 12 votes. And then on 11 votes, Andrew McLeod of Adelaide, Joel Corey of Geelong, Shannon Grant of the Kangaroos, Nick Stevens of the Carlton Football Club, and Travis Johnson of Melbourne, all finishing on 11 votes. But the Brownlow of 2005 belongs to Ben Cousins as we go back to Dermot and Gary for the final time for their post-medal analysis.
Deservedly so that Ben Cousins wins a Brownlow medal, Derm. He's had 6 top 10 finishes and just some really worthy players, or great players that didn't win Brownlows. He's a superstar.
Just on Benny Cousins too, one for the trivia buffs. He's the first player to win the Brownlow medal in the number 9 that doesn't play for Hawthorn. Cole Austin, the Big Dipper, and Shane Crawford have all won it. They're the only other number 9s.
Beautiful work, man. And look, I reckon Daniel Kerr had a great year. Bit of a surprise he was up there, but when you've only got 20 votes, it's always someone's going to be a chance. Scotty West, 2nd in 2000, 3rd in 1998, now 4th this year. What a superstar. And I reckon I've seen one, Dermot. Put down Adam Cooney for future years. That boy had 12 votes tonight. He'll win a Brownlow, I reckon, before his time's out.
Yeah, he catches the notice of the umpire's eye. Just have a look at the most dominant key forward in the comp this year, underlining just how important Barry Hall is in this weekend's match. He polls 16 votes, the most by any key player, key position player in the comp. 14 to Matty Pavlich, a wonderful performance also for the Fremantle Dockers. A big Spider Everett, 13 votes. 13 votes for the leading ruckman. And Cameron Ling, once again, best in the room, Ed.
I think they want to get on with the party, Ed.
Good on you, boys. Thanks very much to Dermot and Gary for their fine work as we have a last look back over there at the Burswood Entertainment Complex. A fantastic night. 20 votes to Ben Cousins, the captain. There's Daniel Kerr being interviewed. He's been whisked away now, Ben Cousins, to be interviewed. He becomes the 2nd West Coast Eagle to win the Brownlow medalist, the 6th West Australian to do so, along with Graham Moss, Ross Glendinning, Brad Hardy, Shane Woden and Simon Black. The 3rd from the East Fremantle Football Club, with Wowie and Blackie, the other 2, and the 19th club captain. And for those who like an omen going into the grand final, the only other time that there's been a club quinella in the Brownlow medal was back in 1926 when Melbourne's Ivor Warren-Smith and Robert Johnson formed the quinella for the Melbourne Football Club. That year, Melbourne defeated Collingwood in the grand final. We hope you've enjoyed the telecast tonight, part of Nine's Wide World of Sports. Congratulations again to Ben Cousins, a worthy winner of the Brownlow medal in 2005, thanks to Toyota. Good night.
Go now, help escalate.
This has been another presentation from Nine's